Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Juubi Naruto was the strongest haki user in One Piece. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by fatalforce and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Landing on a strange world yet again. Somewhere in the strange world. What's the matter with me? Landing on different worlds every time I try to jump. Muttered an irritated voice. Seriously though, does my skills have fallen this low? Or is it also the will of the gods? The voice complained. The voice belonged to a handsome young man of 21 years old with spiky blonde hair and deep cerulean blue eye. The man was wearing his trademark flak jacket with a red haori. He had a headband with a hideate symbolizing shinobi on his forehead and was wearing black long sandals. The man was none other than Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto had been in misfortunes lately. He spent the last 2 years filled with people who can use magic as their weapon and day-to-day life. Though he learned many things in that world and the trip was very exciting, he still was stuck for 2 years. After 2 years of hard long battles, his protege Harry Potter had finally killed the Dark Lord Voldemort. Naruto didn't take any active part in the battle, but he was keeping people alive by helping them. He was also overseeing the battles so that the battle went smoothly. After the battle, the magical world stabilized and the mantle was passed to the hero of the war. Harry Potter by then was considered to be the one of the greatest leader, so Naruto was convinced that his student could handle the situation and make the magical world better. Naruto just planted the seeds of the stabilization to the world, the rest would be salvaged by the people themselves. So, his role was finished in that world. So, at last he revealed his complete history to the people and boy were they surprised by his story, it was quite a tale. But everybody believed his story as they had witnessed firsthand his abilities. They could not deny what they've seen with their own eyes. So, Naruto said everything about himself. After few weeks, Naruto bid his farewell to the people of the magical world. Naruto learned many things from that world. He also learned the science of the Muggle people. He was very much interested about the thing called computers of the Muggle people, though his own world had computers. But, they were very low level. So, he studied extensively about the digital circuits and computer programming to the core. He was very confident in himself that if he ever were to create an operating system of his own, it would be a 5th generation of computer. Means it would be artificial intelligence. He had already seen the development of the humanoid robot Asimo in the Honda laboratories. But, enough about the magical world, currently Naruto's situation was not looking too good for him. He had tried again to jump from the world of magic to his original world and again he was pulled halfway through. He had landed on a strange place yet again. Looking around the place, Naruto had deduced that it was a small island. The Zetsu spores had also came with him. The island had very less trees and barren. There were small animals here and there, but mostly the island was not habituated. There was not a single human soul available in the island. Very boring place to live. Currently Naruto was seated on the sand of the beach and was complaining about the unfairness of his life. Naruto rumbled for a few minutes and sighed. He muttered. Well, complaining would not give me any peace of mind. Well, let's get to business. Naruto looked around, first I need to gather as much information as possible about this world. Judging by the life energy of the world most of the world is covered by water. He deduced. Motion well, Zetsu come on out. Naruto ordered. The ground shifted and a figure of white came out. It was Zetsu. Zetsu responded, you called. Naruto looked towards the white clone and said, Zetsu, I want you and your clones to watch the world and gather as much information as possible. I want to learn everything about this world. Of course my shadow clones will also help. The Zetsu clone nodded and said, yes, alright. We need to know about this world anyway. He slowly sank back into the ground. Naruto gave a yawn and stood up. He flexed his body and fingers and slowly crossed his finger making his trademark seal. He muttered. Hajuo Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, mass shadow clone technique. Suddenly, there was a massive explosion of smoke covering the entire island. After a few seconds, the smoke cleared and the island became visible. 5,000 shadow clones were littered around the whole island. Alright, everyone you know what to do. Naruto shouted to his shadow clones. The clones all nodded and instantly vanished into thin air. Naruto smirked to himself and muttered, well, now that's over with I need to go search for food. Fishing would be good actually. He went back towards the island to make a fishing hook. Somewhere in the east blue. Inside the hotel room rented for staying for some time, Naruto took a sip from the cup of tea and looked at the paper he was holding. After Naruto ordered his clones and Zetsu to gather information, he stayed behind in the island. One of his clones found the current island and summoned him. There was a small city in the island. The island was situated in the east blue of the world. Naruto mused, it has been 3 months already. Looking at the paper he muttered to himself, so, according to this paper, the Heiken no Ace, Fire Fist Ace, has joined the Whitebeard Pirates. TCH, what a convenient timing. After 3 months of relentless spying and gathering information, Naruto pretty much learned the core things of the current world. His clones and Zetsu clones were also positioned themselves to the important parts of the world. According to the information he gathered, the world's power was divided into 3 factions. The first was the world government, which governs over the 170 countries allied with it. The world government was pretty much the ruling party of the world. They strongly believe in the idea of absolute justice. They trained soldiers who were called Marines, and they perform duties for the government. They punish criminals, capture them and try to keep the peace within the world. The second faction was the notorious group of outlaws known as pirates. The pirates were the group of people who believe in the idea of living free. Free from worldly burdens, free from laboring for the country, etc. There were good as well as bad pirates. The world government recognized some powerful pirates and gave them freedom for offering their help. They are known as Aokashichibukai, the 7 warlords. The 7 pirates that the world government recognized as their allies could do anything, but they can't disobey the government. The third group was the Revolutionary Army, who completely opposed the idea of world government. Their main goal was to overthrow the world government, and the center of the army was the Revolutionary Dragon, the most dangerous criminal of the world. The power of the world was balanced by 3 superpowers: the world government, the Shichibukai and the Yonkas, the 4 emperors. According to his information, the people of the world hadn't even finished discovering their whole world. The whole world was covered by oceans. There were 4 oceans covering the entire world: the East Blue, West Blue, North Blue and South Blue. The water of the 4 oceans doesn't interact with each other. The most dangerous sea of all was what known as Grand Line. The Grand Line was separated from the other 4 seas by the Calm Belt and the Red Line. The Red Line covered the whole world, which was a huge wall which no ship can ever cross. The notorious Sea Grand Line was a treasure palace for the aspiring pirates. In the 800 years old history of the world, no one had ever conquered the Grand Line. Many had tried, but failed. But that changed when 24 years ago, an aspiring young pirate from East Blue known as Gold D. Roger finally conquered the Grand Line when he finally reached the final island Raftel. When that news fell into the ears of the people, it was a huge uproar. The entire world changed after that. After Roger conquered Grand Line, he was hailed as the Pirate King by the people and started to call him Gold Roger. But after conquering Grand Line, he surrendered to the Marine and he was executed in his home city Lobetown of East Blue in front of many people. But before execution, somebody asked him where he had hidden his most prized treasure, One Piece. He answered that if they wanted his treasure, then they could have it. He had hidden it in that place. While keeping a huge grin on his face, Roger died. As soon as Roger died, the aspiring pirates rejoiced and the whole era changed. It was 22 years ago. After Roger, the pirates who wanted One Piece went to the Grand Line one after the other, and that led to the current era, which was known as the Great Pirate Era. So, that leads to the current predicament of Naruto. He put his hand below his chin and mused, so what to do? I have completely understood the current situation of this world. From what my clones found, the world government can't be trusted. He bitterly muttered, after what happened to O'Hara 20 years ago, it's clear that the world government is hiding something. The void century 900 years ago is still shrouded in mystery. The scholars of O'Hara tried to discover the truth of the void century by studying Poneglyphs. The center of it was Nico Olivia. But the government put a stop to it by killing everyone in O'Hara. He sighed and took a sip of tea and muttered, only one survivor from the whole carnage, child of Olivia, Nico Robin, who was hailed as the devil child by the government. He gritted his teeth and growled, those bastards in the world government, who the hell gives an 8-year-old child a bounty of 79 million berries? And there is also this issue of Tenryubito, celestial dragons. The world government hails the pirates evil when in front of their eyes those so-called Tenryubitos are abusing their powers by enslaving humans and fishmen alike. They kill what they don't like, and if you ever go against them, then you have to forfeit your life. What assholes, Naruto growled. He then calmed himself down and relaxed. He again took a sip and looked at the paper. The paper was sent by one of the Zetsu clones. There was also a wanted poster. Naruto chuckled looking at the wanted picture. This man looks like he is having fun. The Fire Fist Ace, who ate the Maramara no Mi, Flare fruit, is also the son of the Pirate King. What a lineage. Like father, like son, I suppose. He is also the same age as me. We could get along just fine, I suppose. There was one thing I forgot to mention. The world also had supernatural powers. People could gain superhuman abilities by eating what people called devil fruits. It gave the eater different kinds of abilities. It could give the eater the power to control the weather, create tsunamis, earthquakes, fire, etc. One of the so-called devil fruit users was Fire Fist Ace. There were 3 types of devil fruits. First one was the Paramecia type. It could give people strange abilities like stretch your body like a rubber, magnetic power etc. The second type of fruit was zone type. It gave the eater the animal powers. The user could transform themselves into animals such as tigers, giraffes, wolves etc. The third type of fruit was the most powerful ones. These were Loja types. The Loja type of fruit gave the eater tremendous abilities. The user could manipulate the elements. Their bodies became impervious to attacks because of their liquid-like bodies. They almost became invincible. But there were tremendous weaknesses to the devil fruit users. Once they had eaten a fruit, they couldn't swim anymore. Seawater drains their powers. The Loja types were seemed invincible because of their liquid-like bodies, but there was one type of power people can train in which can physically damage them, which was the power of haki, willpower. There were 3 types of hakas. The first one was Kenbenshoku no haki, observational haki, which gave the users the power of prediction. The user could predict the attacks of their enemies even before the strike. The second was the Busashoku no haki, armament haki, which gave the user invisible armor. They had the capability to physically injure any kind of opponents, be it a normal human or Loja users. The third one couldn't be trained. People who could use this haki were born with it. This was known as Hashoku no haki, conqueror's haki. This haki was the power to intimidate your opponents. You could knock any opponent unconscious who had weaker mental prowess. The most powerful ones of the world often had this haki. That's why they had so many followers. The Yonku red-haired Shanks could do battle with the other fruit users just by haki. Naruto shook his head and muttered, I have already trained to acquire these haki powers. Even Conqueror's haki was easy for me. I even learned the martial arts techniques that the Marines use the Rakishiki, though I don't really need these powers, but it could be useful. I already know that the most powerful man in this world Whitebeard is no match for me. But the powers are cool, especially the Conqueror's haki. If I had known these techs sooner, I could have avoided many meaningless fights. Whatever now I need to plan out what I want to do in this world. Obviously my goal would be to overthrow the world government same as the revolutionary army. But I'm going to it in a different way. Naruto mused, what to do, he started taping his feet on the ground. Why not become a pirate? A voice came from his side. Naruto looked at the Zetsu clone that had just emerged from the ground and responded, a pirate you say, not a bad idea. But how would becoming a pirate help me? Naruto tapped his chin and thought, maybe I would try to become a Yonku, the 4 emperors. Then I would have ample time to plan and execute it. I will also have many powerful followers. Obviously, I don't have any interest on the One Piece or even becoming a pirate king. The Zetsu clone said from the corner, Naruto-sama, I have acquired something for you. He presented a stone to Naruto. He raised an eyebrow, this is. It's known as Kairaseki, sea stone. This stone emits the same energy as the sea. It can weaken devil fruit users. Zetsu answered. Naruto took the stone from Zetsu and examined it. After a few minutes, he grinned and said, Zetsu, you've gathered a very useful thing here. I assume Marines used this stone to imprison the devil fruit users. Now I understand how notorious criminals can be imprisoned in the Great Prison Impel Down. Zetsu replied, yes, I've seen handcuffs made of this stone. It can be also used as weapons. The White Chase Smoker uses a weapon made of Kairaseki. Naruto mused, very useful indeed. Yosh Zetsu, gather as much Kairaseki for me. I'm gonna need more of these. He gave his trademark grin. Zetsu nodded his head and said, yes, Naruto-sama. So what are you going to do? Are you really becoming a pirate? Naruto looked out in the window. A small breeze flew through the open window and fell onto Naruto's face. The hair on his face lifted up and his face glowed in brightness of the sunlight. Looking at the blue sea outside, Naruto smiled and said, an adventure across the sea sounds exciting, isn't it? Zetsu replied, yes, it could be very interesting trip for someone like you who doesn't like to sit down in one place for too long. Hey, I take offense to that. Naruto pouted. Anyway, since this era is basically a great pirate era, it would be good for me to be recognized by the world as a pirate. That way I can oppose the world government subtly, and when the right time comes, I will assault the world government piece by piece and throw it down like a hurricane. He said. Zetsu nodded and said, yes, it seemed to me a good course of action. We can even ally ourselves to the revolutionary army without anyone noticing. A very good idea coming from you, Zetsu. Yosh had settled then. I'm gonna become a pirate. Naruto decided. So, what are the things a pirate needs? A ship, a symbol of some sorts, a Jolly Roger, crew members and lots of powers. Well, power problem is already covered. So I need a ship and design of a Jolly Roger. Find some crew members and I'm ready to sail to Grand Line. Naruto muttered. Zetsu asked, so, what kind of crew members you'll need? Naruto thought for a few minutes then replied, well, first and foremost I need a vice captain. Though it can wait as long I the captain remain in command. Second I need a navigator. I myself will need to learn how to navigate though. Then a shipwright to repair a broken ship, a doctor, some powerful fighters, a cook although I can cook myself, then I need weapon specialists, shooters and snipers, workers, strategists, generals, commanders and entertainers, he. That's awful lots of people. Zetsu exclaimed raising an eyebrow. Naruto looked at Zetsu and said, what haven't you heard about the Yokas? They have so many people under them it's almost uncountable. Whitebeard has so many divisions that he needs commanders for each of them. I just learned that the Fire Fist Ace became the commander of his second division. Zetsu replied, yes, well I almost forgot that you are gunning for the position of Yonkou. If that's the case, then I have no problem. I already know you can handle any kind of people you encounter. Naruto chuckled, you sounded like Kurama there. Worrying about me like that. Don't worry Zetsu, there is no one in this world who can even touch my hair. Are you calling yourself omnipotent? Zetsu asked. Maybe or maybe not, who knows? Naruto answered sagely. Then he chuckled, well, maybe there is someone out there in infinite dimensions that can defeat me, but in this world I'm pretty much a god. Hell, even Madara can wreak havoc in this world and no one would be able to stop him. Not Marines, not Whitebeard, not a soul. He would destroy this world. Well, you have your facts correct. Madara as a juubi Jinchuriki was frightening even to me. I was pretty loyal to him back then. But then you came along. You pretty much obtained the power that resembles the original power of the rabbit goddess Kagaya. The eye of the Juubi, power of the Byakugan, Rinnegan and Sharingan, and the frightening power of the Shinju. Zetsu replied shivering slightly. You're exaggerating a bit much. Hagoromo himself stated that my role was to give light to the steps that the future generation would follow. Just like his mother did long before. In which his mother failed, I was able to overcome the desire to do everything on my own. I trusted my comrades and that paid off. The ninja world is in peace right now. The transmigration of Ashura and Indra went to young Naruto and Sasuke. They are pretty much like brothers, Naruto said with a smile recalling the past. Zetsu also grinned, yes, that was what you were hoping isn't it? Naruto said, yes well enough about that. The crew is line out. Now, I need a strong turdy ship big enough to give trouble to the Marines, easily recognizable to the world that will represent me perfectly. It will be troublesome to order a ship. It will cost a big sum of money which I don't have the liberty right now. Then only option left is to make it myself. Although I can make anything easily with my Banbutsu Sozo, creation of all things, but I want to make it using my Mokuton, wood style, techniques. Naruto mused. Yosh, I'm gonna make my ship from the ground up like other ships, but the wood will be my own creation. The Mokuton woods are created using chakra and they are very tardy. I'm gonna give a little tweak on the wood so that it could even withstand the blast of a cannon. Naruto muttered to himself. Do you even know how to make a ship? Zetsu asked from the corner, rousing Naruto from his thoughts. Naruto looked at him as if he grew a second head, of course I know how to build a ship. One of my clones is working in the galley law company as a shipwright. I'm gonna use that clone's knowledge and make an incredible ship which will not lose to anyone. Naruto replied confidently. Oh wow, I didn't know that. The Zetsu clone replied with surprise evident in his eyes. Naruto chuckled, yes, well with the knowledge I gained from the previous world, I'll be designing this ship to be an impregnable fortress. I've decided to make my own computer, designing an operating system far surpassing anyone and connected in my ship. The AI, artificial intelligence, will act as my navigator. I have also my clone spying in the labs of Vegapunk, so I pretty much knew the government's new project Pacifistas. The laser technology he invented will be very useful for me. I'm gonna enhance his technologies to the level that even he wouldn't recognize it. I also heard of the ancient weapons of mass destruction Pluton and Poseidon. Well my Bajuadamas, tailed beast bomb, are more destructive than those weapons, but I'm gonna design a new weapon system similar to those two. That will give my ship a terrible alias. It would be a weapon of disaster. How evil, Naruto laughed evilly. Zetsu backed away from him slightly disturbed with a sweat drop. He tried to speak, and laughed nervously. Naruto's terrible grin was still present and he started laughing hysterically. He calmed down and said looking at Zetsu, well, I'm not gonna aim my weapon to innocent people. I'm not so evil. But to those who practice the black art, beware of my weapon of mass destruction. You'll not hide from it, ha ha ha. After a few minutes laughing like a maniac, Naruto shook his head and said, well, then I've planned to make my ship in that island. The island I landed first arriving to this world. That is the perfect place for making my ship. Nobody comes there and I can work in peacefully. I'll come up with a design of Jolly Roger later, but first I need to draw the layout of my ship. He looked at the Zetsu who was silent and ordered, go, Zetsu, bring me lots of kairaseki. I'm going to use those stones in my ship and weapons. I will even use the stone to make my bombs. The clone of Zetsu nodded and replied, yes, Naruto-sama. I'm going to bring you kairaseki. My other clones will also help you. Naruto nodded, yes, now go. I have lots of work to do. Zetsu sank back into the ground. Page Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. 2 clones appeared beside Naruto. Naruto nodded to the 2 clones and said, well, let's get to work. He and his clones gathered as much material and started making the blueprint of his ship. His dream ship would be a ship the whole world will recognize as the ship of the most dangerous man ever lived. Few weeks later. 4 weeks had passed since Naruto decided to become a pirate, dreaming of sailing to the Grand Line to wreak havoc. In those weeks, he and his clones worked tirelessly to make an incredible pirate ship in the island he first arrived. First he came up with the design of the ship and they made a dockyard in the island and worked from the ground up. Naruto finished his final work on the ship and sat down laughing, finally finished, it's an incredible ship. He whistled. He was giving it the final touch, which was to paint the name of the ship on it. His cheek had black paint littered on it and he chuckled, well, those pranks I played on the Hokage monument in my younger years hadn't been in vain, I suppose. The experience made me a good painter. He looked at the name of his ship, which was painted in black, and muttered, this name fits this ship perfectly. Just like the city that vanished from the world, my ship will also be able to vanish from the sight of people in the blink of an eye. Just like that city, this ship is a treasure cove. The knowledge needed to build this ship rivaled the Library of Alexandria, and that's why I decided to name my ship with another Greek city which vanished from the world, the Atlantis. Naruto sighed and said, the Atlantis, a famous name for the famous pirate. He chuckled, the alias of this ship will be Ghost Ship because of its vanishing capability. The ship he built was really a masterpiece. It was a work of art and science. The ship was twice the size of a marine warship and had the spacing of a giant football field. The 4 masts that determined the ship's appearance were easily 80 meters tall and huge observation rooms situated over the masts. The sails were huge and couldn't be destroyed by any means. The ship had overall 15 living rooms and other general-purpose rooms, such as dining room, observation room, library, a discussion room, a dojo, laboratory, hospital, a stocking room, etc. The captain's room was the largest, and it hosted the most important part of the ship. The biggest breakthrough Naruto did was to design the control room of the ship. This room was the room which hosted the artificial intelligence Naruto designed. He really did accomplish his idea of making the ship sentient. He really created the most advanced computer before anyone and connected it as the control unit of the ship. The AI also had a voice to alert the crews of any dangers or if they reached any island. The AI would be able to distinguish friends and foes and make its own decisions. It would protect the ship in the absence of the captain. Naruto named the AI in memory his late mother Kushina, but the avatar of the AI was the younger version of his mother. It was a cute little girl with flowing red hair. Naruto was a seal master and he applied his knowledge of seals in his ship. Every bit of impossible things was made possible by the seal Naruto had invented, and that's why his ship would be able to defy the impossible. He already included barrier seals to protect his ship from external attacks. His AI can activate and deactivate the barrier of its own accord. His seals made it possible to extract energy of the sea to navigate the ship. His seals used the seawater as fuel and generate electricity for the function of the AI and the engines of the ship. He made several seals that can extract liquid O2 and hydrogen gas from seawater for the jet propulsion system he invented. He had seen the military use of jet planes and development of space shuttles in the previous world. So he decided to add that technology in his ship. By use of this technology his ship had defied the impossible. It would be able to fly across the sky. So, he had to change his initial plans and made a new one. After tireless works he finally came up with an idea. He made his ship transformable. His ship could transform its form to a submarine and even to a flying ship at the will of the AI. For flying, the system should be aerodynamic and so that's why he needed to transform his ship into another form. For normal navigation throughout the sea, the ship would use the normal mode of navigation like other traditional ships, but if they ever came across the calm belt or in a place where sails don't work, he added the propeller system for moving the ship. Because of the jet propulsion system, his ship would be the fastest ship ever built. Finally, the weapon system of the ship was incredible. There were normal cannons in the ship no doubt, but the most dangerous type of weapon his ship had the laser shooters. He really did steal the laser technology of Vegapunk and added extra tweak on his system. The beams his weapons shoot were not normal. One beam had the power to rival the entire fleet of Buster Call. The most prominent weapon his ship had, the weapon Jupiter. This weapon of mass destruction was the rival of Pluton or Poseidon. Jupiter used the mass amount of chakra from the Shinju and created a beam of mass destruction. This beam rivaled the power of Kurama's Bijuadama, which can annihilate an entire island in an instant. Other than those things, the ship was a beautiful piece of work. It had a skull with bones in the front of the ship. The dock of the ship had large space and had grass covered all around it. There was a swimming pool and relaxation zone, a small amusement park and a small podium for the captain to give orders. There were places for gardening and even place for grow trees. In fact, Naruto created several trees using his Mokuton ability. There was a big sakura tree and other beautiful trees situated in the dock of the ship. There was a bathhouse like an onsen, hot spring, where he created seals to regulate hot water for relaxation. The dining room was also beautiful. There was a kitchen attached to it. The kitchen consists of some stoves which were also regulated by seals and a refrigerator. There was also a microwave oven. After many days of thinking it over and over, Naruto came up with the design of his Jolly Roger. His Jolly Roger was a skull wearing a headband on its forehead. It had a ghost-like appearance. The holes of the eyes were glowing green and the entire picture was slightly foggy. It had a creepy grin and the bones that were crossing X formation had slight protrusion coming of it. The protrusion were two three-pronged kunes. The Jolly Rogers attached at the top of the foremasts were waving in the wind, proudly symbolizing the future most dangerous pirate of the world. Naruto looked at them and sighed. He slowly stood up from his sitting position and walked towards his ship. He entered the captain's room and went straight into the bathroom to take a hot bath. After some time, he emerged from the bathroom and got dressed. His cloths consisted of a high-neck shirt unbuttoned from the top to, long pant and long black boots. He was also wearing black hand gloves and at last he attached his red sage Haori on his back. But there was a small symbol on the back of his Haori, which was the symbol of Konoha village. He strapped his Totsuka no Tsurugi, Totsuka blade, on his back along with its scabbard and went out of his room. He entered the control room and looked around. He then looked at the front screen and ordered, "Activate, Kushina." Suddenly there was a slight tremor shook the ship and all the engines started working. A sound of computer starting hit on his ear and after that all the lights in the room immediately glowed. The control room was huge with many screens and buttons. The light on the screens glowed and letters started to appear. It was the start of rebooting. After a few seconds of rebooting, some small laser lights came to life and they crossed out, creating a holographic image of a little girl that started to appear in front of Naruto. Along with the girl, several 3D holographic screens also activated. The computer finished rebooting as the projection of the girl grew its form and opened its eyes. The avatar of AI with flowing red hair looked at Naruto and smiled. She exclaimed, "It's good to be back, Captain." Naruto also smiled. He looked at the avatar and found no mistakes. The image of the girl was so perfect that people would actually mistake her as a real person. Naruto said, "Welcome back, Kushina-chan. It is the second time I activated you, isn't it?" Kushina nodded. Naruto again said, "Well, the previous one wasn't perfect because of your distorted image. But I fixed a bug and now you're a perfectly functional AI. I'm not going to deactivate you anymore. As of now you've become my first crew member. From today you're my nakama, friend." The image of the girl started dancing like a small child and hugged Naruto. She said happily, "Of course, Captain. I'm happy to be your nakama. You're my creator after all. You're like a father to me." Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head. He smiled and said, "Ahaha, you're making me blush. In reality you're my mother, Kushina-chan. I've designed you to resemble my real mother." Although the image of the avatar had no physical form, Naruto could interact with her physically. Naruto would be the only one who could touch her. Kushina blushed cutely and said, "Now you're making me blush, Captain. So, what's the plan?" Naruto took the captain's seat and ordered, "Zetsu, come on out." The white Zetsu clone came out and answered, "Naruto-sama, what's the matter?" Naruto said, "Zetsu, I'm going to give you your previous form, the combined form of black and white Zetsu. But this time, the black Zetsu will be my will. You're going to be my second crew member." The clone nodded and gave his right hand to Naruto. Naruto touched the hand and the entire hand started to darken. After a few moments, the half of the clone became black and the other half remained white. The Zetsu transformed and became his trademark form of aloe vera-like structure. The black Zetsu said, "Thank you Naruto-sama for giving me form." Naruto nodded and said, "Yes, black Zetsu. Your role in this ship is to oversee every bit of work. You're the temporary vice captain until I find a suitable man for the position." He then looked at the AI avatar and said, "Kushina-chan, you must obey his orders, is that alright?" The red-haired girl answered happily, "Of course, Captain. I'll listen to the orders of the aloe guy." The black Zetsu fumed and muttered, "Why must Captain create a brat for an AI?" The black Zetsu had slightly original Naruto's personality. So, he was slightly emotional than Madara's black Zetsu. Naruto laughed and said, "Ahaha, you remind of myself, Kushina-chan. I had also the same impression of Zetsu when I first encountered him. He was allied with Obito back then. I also refereed him an aloe guy. Well, then now it's time to work. Kushina-chan, what is the first island we need to go?" Naruto asked. Kushina's eyes glowed and letters started flowing and after 5 seconds she answered, "It is a small island. The island is currently ruled by some fishman pirates. I think his name is Arlong." Naruto looked towards the screen where Arlong's picture appeared courtesy of Kushina and muttered, Arlong him a comrade of Jinbei, the Shichibukai previously of Sun Pirates, lead by the hero Fisher Tiger. I've heard that he is a very brutal person. He hates everything to do with humans. For a slight mistake, he had completely obliterated a village in the island. White, Zetsu said. Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, now that's not good. For the mistake of corrupt people, one shouldn't involve innocent people just to show his superiority. That's hypocrisy. Kushina said looking at the photo of the village which was obliterated by Arlong, from what I know, this Arlong thinks his race is superior to human and he believes killing every human would prove his superiority even more. HMPH as if he could do that. He was barely left alive by Admiral Kizaru when he tried to rebel against the humans. No matter what he tries, he can't do anything. There are much more powerful people out there in the Grand Line. White, Zetsu said. Naruto smirked and said, now, I understand his reason for coming to East Blue. The East Blue is the weakest of the four seas. So, for someone like him, it's easy to mark his name in the people's minds by slaughtering weaker humans. In the East Blue, there isn't anyone who can rival him. Not Buggy the Clown, not Don Krieg and not even the Marines. Fire Fist Ace might kill him, but he is in the Grand Line and I don't think he intends to come back in the East Blue anytime soon. But still, I can't let that fish man roam free to slaughter innocent people. The people of the island are in constant fear from him and they haven't had the time of their life. Naruto muttered. Zetsu said, I heard he had been living in that island for last 8 years and slaughtered many people. He collects money from every human on that island, even from children and old men who can't even work. So, that's more of a reason to eliminate him. Naruto said. Naruto then looked towards Kushina and asked, Kushina-chan, are all the engines functioning properly? The red-haired AI answered, Captain, I need more time to scan the entire system. You've included so much files and information in my hard drive, I'm having trouble to scan everything in short amount of time. Naruto sighed and muttered, I feared this would happen. Kushina-chan, please forgive me. I should have thought of the speed of the processor before integrating it into the system. But I am on the verge of completing the new high-speed processor and this will skyrocket your performance. I just need few more days. Please wait, alright Kushina-chan. The AI frowned and asked, are you going to deactivate me again? It's not a pleasant experience, Captain. Naruto shook his and answered, no Kushina-chan. Didn't I tell you I'm not going to deactivate you anymore? I just have to interface the processor with the old processor. The two processors working simultaneously will boost your speed tremendously. So there is no reason to deactivate you for such trivial matter. Kushina smiled and said happily, that's alright Captain. 2 minutes left to complete the scan. Naruto nodded and looked at Zetsu, Oi, Zetsu have you gotten the items I asked for? The white Zetsu answered, yes Captain. I've placed those in your room. Naruto nodded and said, good work. Now only thing left to do is to integrate those in Kushina. The AI looked at Naruto curiously, Captain, what items are you talking about? Naruto looked her and answered, Kushina-chan, I've included the navigation system into you isn't it? Kushina nodded. Well, your system uses the radar network and compass for navigation. But in the Grand Line those do not work due to the magnetic irregularities. Therefore, in Grand Line people uses a special type of compass known as log pose, which can memorize the magnetic property of a certain island. This compass needed time to set and after waiting for few days, it will point towards the next island as it memorizes the magnetic property. Naruto said. Naruto then pointed towards Zetsu and said, I asked this Aloe guy to acquire some log poses and eternal poses for certain islands. Oh, I almost forgot about the eternal pose. These are special versions of log pose that shows only the direction of the island it memorizes. You can find the island it points from anywhere in the world. The red-haired AI looked at Naruto in awe. She exclaimed, wow, Captain you are so smart. You've gotten these informations even before setting foot in the Grand Line. It's like you are a library of your own creation. Naruto scratched his head in embarrassment and said, well, my Shushu, master, was a spy. So, I learned from him that information is the key to winning a battle. Knowledge is power. That's why. I try to gather as much information about anything before diving towards it. Zetsu nodded and said, yes, Jiraiya-sama was the greatest spy master in the entire history of ninja. He could acquire information about you even before you realize. That's why he was so much dangerous. He knew about the opponent's weaknesses even before the fight. The AI listened in rapt attention in what Naruto and Zetsu were saying. She exclaimed, wow your sensei sound like an incredible man. Naruto smiled and nodded. He said, yes, he was. He taught me how a shinobi should live. Kushina suddenly stood up straight and her eyes glowed green. She said in a robotic voice, scan complete. Activating all engines. All the engines activated simultaneously and another tremor shook the ship. After few seconds, the AI's eyes returned to normal. She looked at Naruto and said. Captain, all engines are working properly. We are ready to go as you command. Naruto flexed his finger and said grinning, finally, we can start our journey. Naruto stood up and stood in front of his AI and Zetsu and exclaimed in a loud voice, alright, you maggots. From now on, we are known as the Dark Ghost Pirates. The most dangerous pirate group to ever sail into Grand Line. So, sit tight and enjoy the ride. Let's sail out. The red-haired AI excitedly said, aye, Captain. She again said, all the sails are unfurled. Our first destination is Arlong Park. Naruto sat down on the captain's seat, Zetsu by his side and the AI jumping up and down excitedly. The ship's anchor was pulled back automatically and the ship started to sail towards the Arlong Park. The pirate ship the Atlantis started to advance, cutting the blue water of the vast ocean east blue towards Grand Line, carrying within the strongest man ever lived. The world of One Piece would never be the same again. Chapter 2. An unexpected encounter. Somewhere in the East Blue. It was a very bright sunny day. The blue sea of East Blue was calm to the horizon, cutting the water of the Great Sea. The pirate ship the Atlantis was advancing towards Arlong Park until a very loud voice interrupted the almost sleepy captain on the deck. You bastards. You'll not get away with this, oi, are you listening? A very angry voice disturbed Naruto from his stupor. Naruto was trying to sleep for a while as there was nothing to do. Trying to look towards the sea was a very boring task to do. He was taking a nap on a comfy chair situated on the deck. He scowled and grumbled. He sat up straight and looked towards the person who interrupted his ship. He slowly said, oh, shut up. Would you? I'm trying to nap here. The person whom he was looking at was a man. The man was a news reporter. You're the one who asked for my help, didn't you? Naruto shouted. The man shouted, that's because I didn't know that you're a pirate. Naruto scowled and said, well, if I didn't save you, you would have drawn. The reporter reddened and shouted, that would have been better. Naruto sighed and said, it's your own fault, you know. I mean, who the hell goes to sea in a small raft? How stupid can you be? Cough Luffy ace cough. The man with the hat looked away. Naruto was right after all. It was his own damn fault. But he didn't have to point that out. The reporter struggled from his bindings and asked, but why the hell did you bind me? I mean, I'm just a reporter. Naruto pointed towards the man and said, shrugging, just because. The man's sweat dropped. What the hell up with this pirate? A normal pirate would have killed him in sight. Others would have used him to do inhuman chores, but not this man. He just bound him in ropes and let him be. He even brought him foods and drinks. Naruto shook his head and looked towards the sea. He stared the blue water for some times. He then looked towards the man and said, you know, you're lucky that I caught you. Others would have killed you on the spot. I don't like killing defenseless man. The man looked away. Naruto chuckled and raised his voice, Kushina-chan, how long will it take to reach Arlong Park? The holographic image of the AI suddenly appeared beside Naruto and answered, from my calculation, it would take 3 hours to reach the island. The man's eyes popped up from his sockets in shock when Kushina suddenly appeared beside Naruto. He shouted, what the hell, what's with you and your crew? First there is a man who looked like aloe vera and now a little girl appears out of air. Who the hell are you people? The reporter shouted. Naruto looked at him annoyed and said, Ma, don't be so overdramatic. There are plenty strange people out there in Grand Line. The man's eyes widened even more. He stuttered, that's mean why you are going to Grand Line. Yes, that's right. Naruto answered. The reporter shook his head and muttered, you're crazy. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Naruto asked him in confusion, why do you think so? Are you stupid? Don't you know how dangerous that sea is? It's the graveyard of pirates. I've only heard of horror stories of that place. I've just heard that the king of East Blue, Don Krieg, didn't even make past the first part of Grand Line. Then how the hell a no-named pirate like you hope to succeed? The reporter shouted and breathed heavily. Naruto started chuckling and then gave out a full-blown laughter. The man looked stupefied and asked, what's so funny? Naruto stopped his laughter and said, you think I can't do it? What makes you so sure? The man answered, like I've just said, not even Don Krieg could enter the Grand Line, what makes you think you can? Naruto cut him off, don't praise that of a man. Don Krieg is powerful because he has large number of ships and men. Other than that he is nothing special. He just wears armor which is not even strong and has some arsenal of weapons. Just that. The man looked stupefied. Naruto shook his head and said, believe whatever you want. I've already decided that I'm going to Grand Line. Naruto then noticed something from the corner of his eyes. A dot was approaching towards them. What's that? Naruto asked looking towards the dot. Kushina and the reporter also looked towards the direction Naruto was looking. Kushina analyzed the dot and said, Captain, that's a small coffin-like raft. There is also a person sitting on it. Naruto muttered smiling, I know Kushina-chan. I think I know who that is. Slowly the small raft approached them and the raft and the man became visible to them. The man sitting on the boat seemed bored for some reason. He was deep in thought so he hadn't noticed the presence of a pirate ship in front of him. When the ship was very close to him, he noticed the ominous presence on the ship. So he was at edge. The man thought, what a peculiar feeling. I didn't think there was anyone like that in East Blue. It's been one surprise after another. When the raft neared the pirate ship the Atlantis, the man's features could be seen perfectly. The reporter's eyes widened in shock. He exclaimed in fear, that man is. Naruto stood above the ship and looked down towards his guest. He exclaimed merrily, what a pleasant surprise. What is a man of your caliber lingering in the weakest of four seas? The man with the sharp yellow eyes said in neutral manner, I could say the same to you. You don't belong in the sea. Naruto chuckled and answered, now that's a very peculiar answer. Why do you think that the strongest swordsman of the world Taka no Mi, Hawkeye, Dracula Mihawk? The man with hawk-like eyes answered, you know yourself the answer to your question. I don't like to talk to people who don't know the difference between an ant and an elephant. But you're different. Are you not? Naruto smirked mischievously and said, you're good. You have sensed my power even before we've crossed swords. How's that Taka no Mi? Wanna have a duel? I'm a bit of a swordsman myself. Naruto asked. Mihawk took out his large sword from his back and said, I know I can't escape you without fighting. A man of your caliber will not let me go that easily. He then said, but we have a bit of a problem. There is only water around here. We can't fight on the water. Naruto face-palmed and muttered to himself, I forgot that he can't use chakra. Well, no choice then. He yelled to the reporter, oi reporter. You wanted to know if I was good enough for Grand Line isn't it? Now's the perfect opportunity, I'm gonna show you. The reporter nodded dumbly looking between Naruto and Mihawk. Naruto then took a deep breath and jumped into the water. The reporter's eyes widened and shouted, why did you jump into the water? His eyes further widened in shock seeing the impossible. He's SS standing on the W water. He exclaimed in shock. Surely, Naruto was on top of the water surface like it's the usual thing. Well it was a usual thing in the ninja world. But here people would freak out. Even Mihawk was slightly surprised by the turn of events, even though he would get hardly surprised by anything in the world. Naruto flexed his muscle and said to Kushina-chan, activate the barrier. The red-haired avatar of the AI responded from the deck, aye, Captain. The ship shook slightly, and suddenly a translucent barrier started covering the ship. After a few seconds, it completely covered the ship and vanished without a trace means it became invisible. Mihawk asked, what did you do? Naruto answered, are you dumb? I need to protect my ship. The yellow-eyed man said in understanding, I see. A barrier. Naruto then said, I'm going to give you a standing ground. Don't be surprised if you remember Akiji after this. The strongest swordsman's one eyebrow rose in question. But didn't question it. Naruto just tapped the water with his foot and suddenly water started freezing. The surrounding water froze instantly and it traveled towards all direction. After a few seconds, a giant land of ice formed in place of the blue water. The land of ice was at least a kilometer in diameter. This time even Mihawk was not calm. His eyes widened. He thought, a devil fruit user. But that can't be. He stood on the water. What's going on? The person on the ship has eyes popped from his socket. He exclaimed in shock, what the hell is he? Naruto muttered after his handiwork, a bit too much I suppose. But enough about that. Let's test shall we? The power of your sword, the most powerful Maitu, named sword of the world, the legendary Kakuto Yoru, Black Blade Knight. Naruto challenged after taking out his Totsuka no Tsurugi. The Hawkeye got over his shock and said, you are no ordinary man. I'm going to attack you seriously from the very start. The strongest swordsman pulled his arm back and suddenly slashed. Instantly the air itself parted and giant wave that blasted air moved forward in the speed of a bullet. The wave emitted a green-blue glow and it illuminated the entire region. It drove forward towards Naruto like a devil cutting everything in its path. Naruto smirked and also instantly slashed his sword forwards, creating a giant red wave. The two waves traveled forward in great speed and collided creating a giant shockwave which blew a large number of ice pebbles in the air. The two waves battled for dominance, neither gaining the upper hand. After a few seconds of struggle, the two waves gave out and blew upwards. The two waves instantly exploded parting the sky itself. Two large line of cut left behind in the ice where the two waves traveled. Naruto smirked looking at his handiwork. He muttered, now, that swordsmanship. You're really strong. Hawkeye scowled seeing his slash deflected and said, he took up my slash with a slash of his own. I have never met a swordsman who can take my slash like this. Naruto said from his position, let's go Taka no Mi. He suddenly vanished into thin air and appeared before Hawkeye and slashed forward. Mihawk barely reacted and brought his Maitu up and blocked the slash. A giant shockwave blew from the meeting of the two swords. Naruto then took his sword in his left hand and sent another slash forward in high speed. This time Mihawk was ready and instantly deflected the slash. Another shockwave blew past. Mihawk then tried to thrust his sword into Naruto's gut, but Naruto bent in an impossible angle and instantly started spinning. He started doing consecutive attacks on Hawkeye. Mihawk also started deflecting the slashes. Giant sparks flew whenever the two blades met in deadlock, and after disengaging they again met in powerful sparks. After a few seconds, the two jumped back to gain some distance. The fight until now only lasted a few seconds. The observer from the ship was beyond shock. The two were blurs in front of him. He couldn't keep track of their movements. He exclaimed in shock, "What the hell are those two? Are they even human?" The red-haired AI looked towards him and said, "It's difficult to answer. In case of my captain probably. He is beyond anyone's understanding. The person known as Hawkeye is no match for my captain. Captain is actually testing that man's skill." Naruto looked at Hawkeye and asked, "What's the matter, Takanomi? Show me your true power." Mihawk was on edge. He had never fought anyone who could challenge him like this. He thought, "I'm on the defensive. What is he?" Naruto then took a stance. Mihawk got ready. Naruto suddenly vanished from sight. Hawkeye startled as he lost track of his opponent. He exclaimed, "What the? The jutsu? Mikazuki no Mai, hidden technique. Dance of the crescent moon." Naruto muttered and instantly appeared before Mihawk. Mihawk tried to slash forward, but in his surprise his sword went right through Naruto. "What that?" Mihawk exclaimed in shock. Another Naruto appeared and again Mihawk's slash went through him. Suddenly there was a slashing motion and instantly there was a cutting sound. Blood was dripping on the icy floor. Naruto appeared some distance away from Hawkeye. He said, "You're good no doubt. You managed to avoid my slash at the last second. Otherwise you would have lost your neck." A small cut had appeared on Mihawk's cheek. Blood was dripping from the wound. He touched his cheek and felt blood. He slowly muttered, "This is the first time I've been wounded after so many years." "There is a first time for everyone," Naruto explained from his position. Mihawk wiped the blood from his face and took a stance. He slowly said, "Let's see if you can block this." He started spinning his sword in high speeds. A small twister started to form surrounding him. The speed of the spin kept rising until the sword was a like blur. The twister now took form of a big tornado. It was like a giant wall of blades. He vanished from his spot and instantly appeared in front of Naruto and struck violently. The giant tornado tore apart everything in its path. It traveled towards Naruto with the intent to finish him off. Naruto whistled looking at the tornado of blade and took another stance. He took his sword in his mouth. He opened his hands wide and small blades of wind appeared around his fingers. He started spinning in high speeds. The speed of the spin was so great that it produced a giant wall of wind. He muttered, "Hazakaten, wind rotation." The tornado of blade collided with the wind wall and instantly exploded, creating a huge shockwave and bright light. The light was so bright that even the rays of sun seemed dark compared to it. Mihawk shielded himself with his might to block the force of the shockwave. Even he couldn't withstand the impact of the force and was blown back several meters in the air. After sailing through the air, he righted himself and landed safely on the ice floor. When Mihawk was in the air, several wind blades had pierced him, making him bleed profusely. The wall of wind was still present even after the violent collision. Mihawk looked at the wind wall in awe and muttered, "What a man. He just defended himself from my attack and yet I was one who got injured. This is incredible. I've never fought anyone like him in my life." The wall of wind slowly started to fade and after some time it completely faded, showing the man inside. Naruto's spinning stopped and he took the sword from his mouth in his right hand. He didn't have a single scratch on him. There was gigantic crater where he made the wind wall. It was easily a radius of 100 meters. Naruto looked around watching the devastation he made and muttered, "I've wanted to use this technique like forever. This technique is imitation of Niji's Hakashu Katen, rotation. I used wind instead of pure chakra though. Not bad for first time." He chuckled. He then looked towards Mihawk and asked, "What do you think, Hataka no Mi?" Mihawk was covered in blood from head to toe. The explosion of wind had a very large impact on his body. He was unprepared to encounter such a technique and so the damage to his body was big. He was losing blood very quickly and he couldn't keep it up for very long. The man in front of him had countered one of his strongest techniques like nothing. The reporter at the Atlantis had jaw dropped from looking at the devastation. He was speechless looking at the two. From this battle, he had no doubt that the man that captured him was very much capable of venturing into the Grand Line. Hawkeye looked at his body accessing the damage. He nodded to himself and said to Naruto, "Looks like our fight is at its climax. Although I could have fought better in different circumstances, but I was unprepared to fight against someone like you in the East Blue of all seas." He took a shaky breath and again said, I'm losing too much blood and I can't keep this up very long. So, what about it? Shall we try to end this with a last clash? Naruto observed keenly the state of Mihawk and nodded. He said, alright, I thought I could have more fun with you, but clearly you're at your last leg. My last technique damaged you very badly. He thought, those wound on him looks bad. Crap. I unintentionally used my Rasen Shuriken wind blades. It damages the body to the cellular level. My carelessness may kill this man. I've to finish this. Mihawk said, this is our final clash. So, before we begin, can you tell me your name? Naruto laughed and said, sorry about that, I haven't even introduced myself yet. Alright, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm the captain of the new pirate crew, the Dark Ghost Pirates. Mihawk nodded and said, Naruto Uzumaki, I'll remember it. Now let's begin, shall we? Naruto nodded. The two men took a stance. They stood still in their stance, neither making the first move. They were gauging each other. Even a slight tilt on muscle could start the match. The man on the ship gulped in nervousness and tension. An ice pebble slowly fell on the ground from a small ice hill. As soon as the pebble touched the ground, the two charged forward in high speeds. Naruto and Mihawk instantly brought forward their respective swords and clashed. There was sound of blades meeting each other and the two appeared opposite to each other, giving their backs. Naruto wiped his sword with a swing and put it back to its scabbard on his back. Suddenly there was slashing sound and large amount of blood pouring on the ground. Mihawk gasped as a giant cut appeared on his chest with blood flying everywhere. He shakily stood holding onto his Maitu and looked towards Naruto from the corner of his eyes. He thought, what speed? I clearly saw him. As soon I thrust my sword forward he dodged it and again came back to his previous position. He then cut me instantly and I couldn't even keep up with the slash. It was as if the slash was coming at the speed of light. And this entire thing he did with a smile on his face. His eyes rolled back and he lost consciousness and fell forward in the icy floor with a thud. The strongest swordsman of the world, Takanomi, no Mihawk, lost in swordsmanship for the first time after so many years. The reporter's jaw dropped after witnessing the event. He shakily muttered, HEWW1. That man just defeated the strongest swordsman of the W world. Naruto looked at the unconscious man and muttered, oh man, I wanted to fight with him more. Stupid. He struck himself, why the hell did I use that technique? He started to whine. He sighed and started walking towards Mihawk. He reached the unconscious man and checked his injuries. He nodded and slowly took the man in his shoulder, along with the sword Kakuto. He ordered, Kushina-chan, deactivated. The invisible barrier around the ship instantly shattered into a million of pieces. Naruto then again tapped the icy floor and instantly the ice started melting. After a few seconds, the icy land completely melted and only remained behind the deep blue water of sea. He jumped onto his ship along with Mihawk and started going towards the infirmary. He looked at Kushina and said, let's go Kushina-chan, let's treat this man. He and the avatar of AI went towards the infirmary with an injured swordsman in tow. The reporter that was bound on the deck looked at everything with a dumbfounded expression. On board of the Atlantis. The strongest swordsman of the world slowly opened his eyes and came back to the realm of consciousness. He breathed heavily and looked around. He immediately noticed the bandages and protrusions on his body. He was given blood, it seems. Oh, you're awake. Man, you're tough. It's been barely 1 hour. A voice said. Mihawk looked towards his right, noticed the man he fought previously. He slowly asked, why haven't you killed me? Naruto looked at him strangely and said, why would I kill you? I have no reason to kill you. You're not my sworn enemy or like that. Hawkeye. Mihawk looked at him and said, I see. There was silence between them. The entire room was like a silent movie. The two felt awkward. Now that they were not fighting, it's almost as if they were strangers all over again. Naruto tried to say, so, then Mihawk cut him off. I clearly saw your last attack. He sighed. Naruto looked confused. Mihawk then said, I know that I'm no match for you. You were just testing me from the very start. No matter what I would have done, the outcome of the match was decided from the very first moment. Naruto chuckled and put his hand on his hand in embarrassment. He said, you saw that. You're good. You're the first one to ever see that attack. No wonder you're regarded as the strongest swordsman of the world. Mihawk shook his head and said, no, that title just passed down to you. You're clearly the better of us. From the battle assessment I concluded that you are in the leagues of Whitebeard or similar to him. Naruto grimaced and thought, he is indeed good. But he made a mistake. I'm not in the league of Whitebeard. It's the other way around. Even Whitebeard is no match for me. But he doesn't need to know that. Naruto then said, no, I don't need the title of strongest swordsman of the world. It will stay with you until some youngster defeat you in battle. Mihawk looked at him as if he grew a second head, are you not young? Naruto laughed and answered, oh, I'm 21 years old. I'm pretty young. No, I didn't mean it like that. That title should go to another man. And I know just the right person to inherit that title. Mihawk looked at him intensely and asked, and that man is? Naruto looked out through the window and answered, oh, I think you probably haven't met him yet and you're not going to meet him until he enters into the Grand Line. He then looked towards the man with hawk-like eyes and said, he's pretty popular too. He is very well known in the East Blue. His name is the pirate hunter Urano Zoro. Dracul. Mihawk looked at him as if someone had slapped him and said, I know that man. I just met him just before I came here. What? Naruto shouted, are you telling me you've already met him? Mihawk nodded and said, it seems I was not the only one to recognize that man's potential. I have never met a swordsman with a pride like that man. Naruto also nodded. He said, so, what did you do to him? Did you kill him? Mihawk answered, he challenged me into a duel. The outcome was imminent of course. He has some skills no doubt, but he still has a long way to go before he can challenge me again. I didn't kill him obviously. He was badly injured. But I think he'll live. He has an incredible will to survive. He then said, he is a member of a new pirate group. The captain is a boy with straw hat that was mentioned to me by Akagami, red-haired, of all people. They are a good team. Naruto smiled and said, ah, you met the boy wonder. The son of revolutionary dragon, Monkey D. Luffy. Mihawk was silent after the big news that was revealed to him. He slowly said, ah, that explains his tardiness. Naruto again looked towards the sea and said, I've been keeping tabs on him. The boy with a straw hat that originally belonged to Roger. He is quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Pretty soon he will cause a ruckus that will shake the whole world. After all, nobody but him has the most potential to become the next pirate king. He is an inheritor of the will of D. Mihawk listened to him keenly and said, you're saying that with so much conviction as if he is your own brother. Why do you have so much faith on a weak little boy? Naruto just smirked mysteriously and said, he reminds me of myself when I was younger. That's that. The blonde then asked the swordsman, so, what were you doing in the East Blue, Takanomi? Mihawk answered, I was chasing Don Krieg. That foolish man interrupted my nap so I cut all of his ships. Naruto started laughing and said, ah, so that's why he couldn't get past the first part of the Grand Line. You destroyed his entire fleet. Serves the arrogant jerk right. Mihawk then said, yes, then I encountered Urano Zoro and the Straw Hat Boy. They were having some kind of fight with my target. Naruto chuckled, so, that means the reign of Don Krieg is over now. He is no match for Luffy. He is nothing special. Hawkeye didn't say anything. After some time of complete silence he said, this is the first time in my life I'm having a civil conversation with a man I've just fought. Although I engage in conversations with Akagami now and then, but that was never civil. He is a very eccentric man. Naruto just smirked. He then said, say, Takanomi, if I were to ask you to join my crew, what will be your answer? Hawkeye looked at him as if he grew a second head. He asked, what makes you think I'll join you? I like my position as Shichibukai. No marines in my tail. I can sleep peacefully. Why should I abandon my post and become a normal pirate again? Naruto answered, as I thought. But you haven't heard the second phase of my proposal yet. You see, you don't need to announce the whole world that you've joined a pirate crew. That way you can maintain your status as a Shichibukai and I also gain a powerful ally such as yourself. Seeing that Mihawk was deep in thought he again added, I believe sometimes in the future, there are going to be big events that will shake the entire world. Be it as good or bad, I need ears and eyes everywhere and I want to be part of those events. At that time, you'll have to make a choice. Which one will you join? Will you side with the world government or will you side with the people that can make a difference in the world? I don't particularly care which one you'll choose, it just makes one more enemy for me to kill. You know that yourself that if you become my enemy again, then there will be no escape for you. You'll die. So it's better you want me as your ally than your enemy. If you join me I can even give you a goal to strive forward. Naruto said. At present, you're a man with no purpose. You just wander around the world in boredom and when some fool challenges you, you just defeat them. No swordsman can stand up to you. It's quite lonely at the top, isn't it? Naruto asked. Mihawk listened to Naruto's words in rapt attention. What Naruto said made sense. He was a man with no purpose. He had already achieved what he dreamt of achieving. But when he reached the top, there was nothing but bitter loneliness. How many years that had been wasted trying to find a worthy adversary. He did have conflicts with Akagami now and then, but those were minor. He then slowly asked Naruto. So, what is your goal then? For what purpose such a man like you decided to become a pirate? I don't think being chased by marines was a very good idea to make a difference. Naruto chuckled. He took a deep breath and said, I can't tell you my goal yet. First I have to assemble my entire crew and then I'll explain everything. My first goal is to reach a level where I could use my influence to change things. The position of Yonko is not a very bad choice, is it? Mihawk answered, well, I can't tell you that. The present Yonkos are satisfied as it is. They don't use their influence to change things. The world is at the same place. Naruto just shrugged and said, well, that's their problem. And, the time has not yet come for those changes. There must be a trigger of some sorts for such a big change to occur. I know just the thing. But I won't pull that trigger. It'll be pulled by someone else and the big waves will start to move. Then the whole world will be washed away by those big waves. Hawkeye looked out in the window and asked, why wouldn't you pull that trigger if you want changes? Naruto sighed and said, I don't want to become the devil. There are things in the universe you should never interfere. Everything has rules. I'll be pulling the strings from the sidelines for now. Although, some things are unavoidable. The people of the world must first recognize the good and bad of the world. To make a change successful, you must change the hearts of people. After all, the world is made up of people. Without them, no change is worthwhile. Like a child, the world has yet to mature, but it must need to accommodate to changes just like a child would. Naruto said. Mihawk was silent throughout the explanation and after some time said, you said you're 21 years old, right? How can you be so intelligent at such a young age? What you've just said is like the philosophy of an old man. What did you endure in your life to make you like this? Naruto just sighed and gave a small sentence that gave the answer away, war happened. Akanomi was surprised to hear that. He now finally understood Naruto's perspective. So, at a young age, this man experienced war and became a man he was now. It must have been a very traumatic experience. Mihawk knew the state of the world right now. It was ruled by the world nobles. Slave trading was still at large. So, making a war happen in the outskirt of the world, in the weakest of four seas, was not a hard thing to do for the Tenryubito. Those were highly responsible for any tragedies befell in the world from the old age. The incident of O'Hara was still fresh in mind of people. The man with the hawk-like eyes said, I see. I understand it now. So, what is your plan for now? He asked. Naruto scratched his head and answered, I'm going with the flow for now. I need my crew members and I'll not take any random people for my crew. I'll only take those people who have the potential to become great in their life. Though, sometimes taking powerful people such as you is not unwelcome. Naruto looked at Mihawk and said, I'm planning to finish my businesses in East Blue before entering Grand Line. That's about it. So, what is your answer, Takanomi? Are you going to join me or not? Hawkeye messaged his hand and said, it's difficult to come up with an answer right now. Can I take some time to decide the pros and cons of the offer? Naruto answered, of course. I'm not telling you to decide right now. You can take your time. I expect your answer within a month. Not more than that. Mihawk nodded. He had ample time to consider the offer. First he needed to meet with Akagami and discuss this event thoroughly. Then he would be able to come up with an answer. Mihawk tried to remove his protrusions of blood supplies, but Naruto held him back. Naruto asked, what are you doing, Takanomi? Mihawk simply said, I need to go. I have some business with Akagami. Naruto sighed, I would not recommend you to go with such injuries, but I have no choice. I also need to go somewhere and I can't take you with me. There will be questions. So, sit for now, I'm going to heal you. Mihawk just looked at Naruto in confusion and asked, how do you propose you do that? Naruto just did a hand seal and his hands glowed green. He started to use Iryo ninjutsu, medical ninjutsu, on Hawkeye's injuries. To Mihawk's shock, all the injuries he received from the battle started to heal rapidly. After some time, not a single scar was left on his body, as if he never fought that deadly battle. Naruto stopped his healing after some time as he noticed that there was not a single injury left of Hawkeye's body. He sighed and muttered, it's always troublesome to do this every time. Do you know how much chakra control needed for that? Mihawk looked at him dumbfounded and asked, chakra? What is that? Some kind of devil fruit? I thought your devil fruit power is similar to Akiji's. Naruto tipped his tongue for letting that information out, just said, no chakra is similar to haki. I just named it differently. He internally thought, crap, I almost blown my cover that I'm not from this world. He didn't need to know that chakra is an inherent energy that people of my world use. Mihawk just started at him. But he didn't question again. Naruto sighed in relief. He said, how are you feeling now? Mihawk looked at his body and said, my injuries are healed. I feel fine. How did you do that? Naruto scratched his head and said, it's complicated. I learned this skill from my grandma. It's kind of a family thing. Mihawk said, I see. Naruto then removed the blood protrusions from Mihawk's body and even removed the bandages. Hawkeye stood up from the bed and put on his coat that hangs of his shoulders and took his might on his back. Naruto nodded to Mihawk and the two got out from the infirmary to the deck of the ship. When they arrived they found that the reporter that was bound was having a conversation with the avatar of AI. When Naruto noticed Kushina he immediately said, Kushina-chan, why are you here? The avatar with red hair just said, "Captain, I'm keeping this man company. Zetsu still has not returned yet." "I see. Then Kushina-chan, please start the engines. We are going to go forwards," Naruto ordered. The little girl nodded and responded, "Alright, Captain." Mihawk listened to their conversation and asked, "I have been meaning to ask you. What is a little girl doing in a pirate ship?" Naruto laughed and said, "Little girl you say? Haha, you're very further from the truth. She is not an ordinary girl. She is the heart of this ship. Without her, this ship can't function." Mihawk looked confused and asked, "What do you mean by that?" "Ah, Takanomi, you haven't joined my crew yet. So, I can't tell you all of my secrets. Kushina-chan's story is even more complicated than mine. And if you're worried that I've kidnapped a child in my pirate ship, then hold that thought. She is not a child," Naruto answered. Mihawk blinked. He responded, "I see. Well, it's not my place to question other people's work if it's not interfering with anyone." Naruto nodded and said, "Yes, well your raft is on the back of my ship. You can go now if you want." Hawkeye nodded and said, "Thanks for treating me. We'll fight again someday. Perhaps I can give you a better challenge next time." Naruto smiled and said, "I'm looking forward to it. Next time, I'll be fighting without using that technique." Mihawk said, "Don't hold back on me. I'll be prepared for the next time." But that he jumped onto his raft and cut off the rope that was connected with the ship. He turned to Naruto and said, "Well, goodbye for now." Naruto waved and responded, "Bye, Takanomi. It was good meeting you." Takanomi no Mihawk nodded and sat down cross-legged on his coffin-like raft and started going towards the direction of Grand Line. Naruto looked at the man until he disappeared from view and sighed. He then noticed the reporter said, "I'm going to untie you. But you'll have travel with us until we reach our destination." The reporter nodded in understanding. He didn't want to anger the man who just defeated the strongest swordsman of the world. Naruto approached him and slowly untied him from the bindings. The sails of the ship unfurled automatically and a voice was heard, "Captain, we'll need 3 hours to reach Arlong Park." Naruto nodded and sat down on the chair of the deck and said, "Alright Kushina-chan. I'm going to take a nap." The reporter also sat down on the deck and started writing his journal. He inwardly thought, this is going to be big news. A man from East Blue defeated the strongest swordsman of the world. This man's bounty is going to skyrocket. Naruto noticed him from the corner of his eyes and smirked. Finally, the plan was going smoothly. It was his plan to grab the attention of the world and it went along smoothly. This reporter was going to make him famous in the world. He then took a blindfold and bound his eyes and drifted into sleep. Meanwhile at the Barati restaurant. The fight between Monkey D. Luffy and Don Krieg came to an end. The pirate crew fled from the restaurant along with the unconscious captain in tow. From this moment on, the reign of Don Krieg was over. The owner of Barati restaurant Zeph urged Luffy to take Sanji as his cook. Luffy said that if Sanji didn't want to come, then he couldn't do anything. Then suddenly one of Zoro's subordinate Yusaku flew towards the restaurant inside of a shark's mouth. He informed Luffy where Nami was headed. At last Sanji agreed to come with Luffy as his cook. So, Luffy waited for him in a small boat after taking a lot of food and meat. "Kokiniki's rather slow, isn't it?" Yusaku said. Luffy agreed. Then Sanji came out with his baggage and stood in front of the door. There was an awkward silence. As soon as Sanji took his front foot, suddenly. "This is the fury I accumulated for years." Patty shouted from Sanji's behind aiming to attack. "Prepare yourself, Sanji," shouted Karn as he also tried to attack the blonde cook. Sanji immediately dodged and kicked the duo. The two fell forward bleeding. "You can never beat him," one of the cooks said in deadpan. An awkward silence. Sanji walked forward. When he reached the boat he said to Luffy, "Let's go." Luffy asked, "Are you sure? No goodbyes?" "Nah." Sanji smiled and proceeded to board. "Sanji," the voice of Zeph interrupted the blood cook, "don't catch cold now." Immediately Sanji's expression turned into a boy. He was almost ready to cry. Tears started falling from his eyes. He remembered his past with Zeph, how that old man lost one his legs trying to protect him. How the old man didn't eat for days on that lonely place giving all the food to Sanji. Sanji shouted, "Owner Zeph," and immediately got on his knees. He said in tears, "All this time, I owe you a hell of a lot." He bellowed, "What you've done for me, I shall never forget." He started crying soundly. Seeing him, even Zeph started shedding tears. "You damn bastard." Patty shouted in tears. Sanji looked up. Patty again said in tears, "I'm gonna miss you, damn it." Even Karn was crying and shouted, "Gonna miss you, damn it." All the other cooks were also in tears. Everybody liked him as their brother. So, parting with him was very painful for them. Most of the memories they shared with him either good or bad, they couldn't take it. So, all of them were openly crying. "This is so sad, I'm so sad, damn it." All of them cried. "You morons." Zeph said, wiping his tears. He looked at them with misty eyes and said, men should just leave without saying a word. Luffy shouted, let's go guys. Sanji shouted from the boat, till we meet again, you freaking bastards. And waved at the cooks. All of the cooks were also waving, saying their goodbyes in tears. Zeph thought with a little smirk, with the belief and refusal to die, they will find all blue. He then shouted, alright men. Customers will be flooding soon. Get back to work. The little boat along with Luffy, Sanji and Yasaku sailed towards Arlong Park, cutting the blue water of East Blue. On board of the Atlantis. Naruto was sleeping soundly on the comfy chair on the deck. He jerked awake when felt that his ship was slowing down. Even in sleep, he was always aware of his surroundings. No matter what happens, no one could sneak up on him. He opened his blindfold and opened his eyes. Bright sunlight interrupted him. He slowly looked around. He noticed that the reporter on board was still writing on his journal. He sighed and asked the reporter. How long are you going to keep writing in that stupid journal? The reporter looked at him and shouted, are you stupid? I'm a reporter. It's my job to provide news to the people for the world. Naruto shook his head and muttered, stupid reporter. He then noticed that ship was traveling slightly slower, so he immediately asked, Kushina-chan, why are we slowing down? The avatar with flowing red hair appeared in front of Naruto and responded, we are almost to Arlong Park. I'm going to take a detour so that Arlong doesn't notice our presence. I've seen some marine shipwrecks near the plaza. They must have been destroyed by some kind of sea king. Zetsu told me about that. Apparently Arlong controls some king of sea cow that destroys any ships near the island. But what I don't understand, why are we taking a detour? I mean, some sea cow is not a threat to Atlantis. Naruto asked. Kushina said, I know captain. I thought we need to first assess the situation in the island. If we take the front, I feel that Arlong might attack the villagers just to spite us. You don't want that, right captain? Naruto slapped his forehead and muttered, of course. Man, Kushina-chan, your logical reasoning is getting better and better in every passing day. I didn't think that your operating system was this much aware. It's like you're learning things on your own. Kushina nodded and said, yes captain. The new processor you've interfaced has improved my performance to the point that I don't need to think so much to remember things and the ship's navigation. I'm getting more times to make myself develop even more. It's like I'm an actual living being. I don't understand myself yet. It's like I'm evolving just like the animals. Kushina said in thoughtful manner. Naruto was stunned to hear that. He muttered to himself, did I accidentally give life to her? How can that be? Although I've used Banbutsu Sozo, creation of all things, to create some components of her, but still I didn't think this much would have been possible. To create an actual artificial living being of all things incredible. Am I a mad genius or what? Kushina looked towards her left and noticed the presence of the island. She said, Captain, we've reached the island. Naruto also looked towards the island and said, finally. We arrived at our first destination. The reporter stopped his writing and looked up. His eyes widened and shouted, why are we here of all places? I know you can handle on your own, but what about me? Arlong is going to kill me. Naruto looked at the reporter and said, what are you complaining about? You're coming with me. After I kill Arlong, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to force you to do anything afterwards. You can go do your work. The reporter asked in hope, really? You're going to set me free? Of course. Naruto responded. Alright, let's land on the island. Kushina-chan, prepare to dock the ship. He ordered. Aye, Captain, Kushina responded. Slowly, the ship the Atlantis approached the island that was taken over by one of the fishman Arlong. The hateful fishman was going to get a nasty surprise. Chapter 3. Trouble at Arlong Park. At the ruins of Gosa Village. So this is Gosa Village? Naruto muttered as he looked around the ruined village. After the ship the Atlantis docked near the ruins of Gosa Village, Naruto and the news reporter departed from the ship. Naruto's ship had the capability to vanish from the eyes. He had installed some type of reverse polarizing mirror which refracts the rays of light from the other side to the front side. That gives the illusion of disappearance. The reporter was pretty freaked out when the ship disappeared in front of his eyes. It is completely turned upside down. He mused, maybe this is the work of the sea cow. The reporter looked around the destroyed village and said, such is the cruelty of Arlong. He thinks the humans an inferior race. Naruto shook his head and said, I'm well aware of that. Let's just move on. Naruto and the reporter moved on looking for people so that they can get some idea of condition of the island. Naruto was looking for people so that he could assess the situation, but the reporter was looking for anything that might interest his newspaper. He was a professional after all. They came across some rice fields and after some time walking they found houses. It looked like a village. Naruto muttered, looks like we found a village. The reporter looked at signboard and said, it says the name of the village is Kokoyashi Village. "Let's enter, reporter-san," Naruto said with a smirk and went ahead. "Boy, wait for me." The reporter shouted and ran to catch up to him. The village was pretty shady. Small houses were built for people, and looking at the state of the houses, the people seemed pretty poor. "Looks like the people barely have the savings to feed themselves," Naruto muttered. The reporter nodded. Naruto then noticed something. He exclaimed. "Oh, a crowd. Why are they gathering around here?" The reporter also noticed the crowd and questioned, "Your guess is as good as mine." "What?" Then his eyes widened and exclaimed, "Shit. Fishmen." The reporter immediately ran and hid behind a shady-looking house. Naruto shook his head looking at the reporter and muttered, "What's he afraid of? They are just some weak-looking fishmen. It's not like." Then he noticed, "Oh, it's Arlong." Surely, the most notorious pirate in the East Blue was there holding some villager high in the air with the collar of the shirt. Arlong was pretty big for fishmen. He had a razor-sharp nose and sharp teeth which could destroy almost any kind of material. He heard Arlong talk. "This is so touching," nicely said. Arlong barked with a cruel smirk, "Of course you can be happy for being alive, even worthless pests like you." Arlong took the man even high and threw him in the ground with all his might. The man wearing a hat hit the ground with a thud and coughed up blood. "Gen-san." Some girl exclaimed in fear for the man. Arlong then smirked even more and said, "Because not all living things were made equal." Shahahaha. Naruto frowned looking at Arlong and muttered, "How foolish. How hypocritical is he?" "You bastard," some villager yelled. No, the man that was thrown by Arlong stopped the man from attacking. He shakily said, trying to get back up, "Don't fight, no matter what." "But Gen-san." The man named as Gen blocked him with a shaky palm and said, "Everything is over if you were to die. Don't abandon the endurance we've gone through. Even if I die." "Nice speech." Arlong interrupted and took the man high in the air and yelled, "Mere humans, behold." Everyone gasped. Naruto muttered, "What the heck is Arlong doing? This person, who had the notion of rebelling us, will now endure his fate." Arlong said, preparing to throw him again with the intention of killing him, "Let this be a warning." He threw him all his might intending to crush him with his hands, but suddenly another voice interrupted. "Hyakubashi, gunpowder star." The side of Arlong's body exploded in smoke. The man known as Gen hit the ground with a thud. "Huh? What happened?" some fishmen said in panic. Then he pointed toward someone and yelled, "Look. Over there. There is someone on the roof." Everybody looked where he was pointing, and surely over the roof of a house, a guy with a long nose was standing proudly. Naruto exclaimed, eyes wide, "It's long. His nose is long. What the hell? Pinocchio." One of fishmen yelled, "Who the hell are you?" Naruto laughed to himself, he is sweating. "I'm the brave warrior of the sea Captain Usopp," the long-nosed guy said with shaky legs. Brave warrior of the sea? He didn't get a better alias. Why is he interrupting when he himself is scared shitless? Naruto mused looking at Usopp. Then he remembered something and muttered, "Come to think of it, didn't the sharpshooter of Akagami pirates have a son named Usopp? What was his name again?" Naruto put his finger on his chin and mused, Yes Usopp. "Ah, so he must have come with Luffy. Such a cowardly guy. But he has guts." Naruto muttered. Then Usopp again started stammering, "Thousands of people all over the world fear me, calling me King Usopp who emerged from hell. I shall have mercy on you if you escape now." "That's a lie." Naruto muttered, "Taku, that idiot. Can't he make a better convincing lie?" "Arlong-san. That's the guy who I failed to capture a while ago," one of the fishmen said to Arlong, pointing at Usopp. Arlong was pissed off, no doubt. The smoke was starting to clear. Arlong growled from inside the smoke, "Thousands of people are nothing to me. I'll clobber every single one of them to death. Just a mere human, what is a low-life human like you trying to do to me?" Arlong yelled in anger. Then he started lifting the entire house to throw off Usopp. Naruto muttered impressed, "Oh, he has some impressive physical power." Some fishmen interrupted, "Arlong-san. Hold on a sec." Another said, "With Goso also gone, our funds will clearly deplete. It's easy to destroy these human villages, but our aim is domination." Arlong didn't listen. He lifted up the entire house and said, "Destroy then rebuild. We are the most superior of all creatures." He threw the house as if it was nothing. The entire house became rubble after Arlong threw to kill Usopp. Whoa, he really did throw it. "I hope that long-nosed guy is alright," Naruto muttered. "Damn, I thought I was a goner." Usopp yelled from raising from the rubble. Naruto mused, "That guy's got a hell of luck." One of the fishmen yelled, "He's still alive. After him." Usopp yelped and ran away. All of the fishmen ran after him. Arlong yelled in anger, "I'll catch him and exterminate him." Two of the fishmen held him back as he also was ready to chase down Usopp. They took Arlong towards Arlong Park. Arlong shouted in anger, "What does he take us for?" Another one said, smirking cruelly, "We'll be back. Aren't you guys fortunate?" and all of them returned back to Arlong Park. After a few minutes, the reporter joined Naruto as he saw that Arlong went back to his base. Naruto mocked him, "You're a coward, aren't you?" The reporter just yelled, "Shut up." Whatever," Naruto said and approached the villagers. By that time, the man named Jen was seated and some people surrounded him and some old man started nursing his wounds. Naruto approached them and said, "Charming man, isn't he?" Immediately, all the villagers looked towards him. He then said, "I mean Arlong." One of them shouted, "Who are you? Are you a friend of that long-nosed guy?" Naruto smirked and said, Ma, don't be so hasty. I'm not a friend of that idiot." "Then who are you?" a pretty girl with short blue hair and tattoos asked. "Me? Well, I'm a pirate. My name is Naruto Uzumaki," he said nonchalantly. Everybody immediately became on edge. The man named Jen asked, "What is a pirate doing here? Don't you know who is ruling this place?" Naruto didn't respond. He simply walked forward and gazed at the man. Then he noticed something, a pinwheel. "So cool," he exclaimed. The villagers immediately dropped on the ground in an I'm style. One of them yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Naruto looked at him innocently and asked, "Who? Me?" The one who yelled was stuck speechless. The other villagers looked at him as if he was stupid. Naruto ignored their reaction and walked forward towards the injured man. He keenly observed the injuries and said, "Your injuries are not life-threatening." Then he looked at the old man who was treating him and asked, "Oi, old man. Can you side aside? I know you're a doctor, but I'm gonna do some magical thing to this man." The old man with specs yelled, "What? What the hell are you talking about?" Naruto ignored him and he did a hand seal and his right hand glowed green. He came near the injured man. The doctor yelled, "Wait. What are you doing?" To his and the people's shock, the wounds on the man started disappearing. After a few seconds, the man named Jen was as good as new. He didn't have a single scratch from the previous skirmish. All the people were shocked silence. Even Jen was surprised as all the pain from Arlong's hits was gone. He asked in shock, "What? How did you do that?" Naruto just smirked, "Oh, that's sorry, I can't tell you. It's a secret." The blue-haired girl asked in shock, "Was that the power of devil fruit?" Naruto looked at her and said, "It may be or it may not, who knows." He then approached her and asked mysteriously, "It's a shame to not know a pretty lady's name. What might be your name, miss?" He gave his hand to shake. The blue-haired girl blushed slightly and shook his hand and answered, "My, you are a charming pirate. Aren't you? You're quite handsome too. My name is Nojiko." Naruto nodded and kissed her hand. The man known as Jen sighed looking at their greeting and said, "You might be a pirate, but I'm grateful to you for healing me. Thank you." Naruto just waved his hands and said, "Don't mention it, mister. Oh, forgive my manners. I'm Genzo. I'm the mayor of Kokoyashi village." The pinwheel man introduced himself. One of the villagers said in wonder, "But who was that lad just now?" The girl's voice interrupted, "Everyone. Long time no see." Everybody looked towards her. Naruto also noticed the orange-haired girl. He thought, "I know her. She was with Luffy when he defeated Buggy. I think her name is Nami." "Nami? Not-chan." Everybody muttered and all of them started to return to their homes. Naruto noticed their strange behavior but didn't question them. He noticed that only Nojiko, Genzo and the doctor didn't move from the spot. Nojiko asked Nami, "What's the matter? It's unusual for you to use the main road." Nami answered slightly perturbed, "I heard a lot of noise." "It was Arlong, isn't it?" she asked as if it was the obvious thing. Naruto took a step and asked, "Nami, was it?" The orange-haired girl named Nami looked at him noticing his presence. Naruto then asked, "You're one of Arlong's crew, aren't you?" Nami tensed. Nojiko gripped her hand. Nami asked, "Who are you? I haven't seen you before." Nojiko answered for him, "He is a pirate, Nami. He healed Gen-san from the injuries Arlong gave him. I think he arrived on this island today." Naruto ignored their conversation. "You purposely ignored my question, didn't you? Smart girl." Nami's eyes narrowed but didn't respond. Naruto again said, "You might fool anyone, but you can't fool me, girl. I don't think you're happy to be Arlong's brethren. He forced you, didn't he? He even threatened you, isn't it?" Nojiko's eyes widened. She already knew why Nami did what she did. But this man deduced all of that just by looking at her. What is he? Nami scowled in anger and said haughtily, "That's none of your business." She then said to Nojiko, "Come, Nojiko. Let's visit Bellamere-san's grave." She ignored Naruto and took Nojiko with her to visit their foster mother's grave. Nojiko gave him an apologetic look and went with Nami. Naruto just smiled at her and gave her a reassuring wave. Genzo said, "Sorry about that, Naruto-san. Nami isn't always like that." Naruto just waved and said, "Don't worry about it, Gen-san. You people must have suffered in the hands of Arlong for many years, isn't it? Believe me or not, I know a lot about Arlong." The doctor said, "What do you mean?" Naruto just smiled and said, "Wait for the right moment, doc." I'll tell all of you at the right time." He laughed mysteriously and walked away. He looked at the reporter who was writing furiously and shook his head. He took the man with his hand and started to drag him over the ground. The duo disappeared from Kokoyashi village as the reporter yelling at the top of his lungs. Genzo and the doctor looked at their vanishing figure with dumbfounded expressions. Kokoyashi village. After Nojiko and Nami visited their foster mother's grave, they returned to their house. But Nami went towards Arlong Park, saying she had some business over there. So, Nojiko was alone on the house. She was deep in thought when a knock on the door interrupted her. Curiously, she opened the door. She was greeted by a familiar face. She exclaimed, "Ah, Naruto-san." Naruto smiled and asked, "Can I come in, Nojiko-chan?" Of course. Nojiko let Naruto inside and both of them sat down on respective seats facing each other over a table. Nojiko asked, "How did you find this place, Naruto-san?" Naruto just said, "I've been monitoring you two sisters. I noticed you two come here. By the way, you've grown some nice oranges." He praised her. Nojiko smiled, "Thank you. Planting orange tree was a hobby of Bellamere-san." Naruto said, "Bellamere Hashi was you and Nami's foster mother, wasn't it?" Nojiko was surprised and asked, "How do you know that?" The blonde-haired man said, "Let's just say I'm good at gathering information." Nojiko smirked, asked slyly, "You're quite a mysterious character, aren't you?" Naruto laughed hard. Nojiko also started laughing. It was quite a different atmosphere from the serious situation that her village was at. She could not help but impressed with this man. He just knew the right thing to say to lighten the mood. All of a sudden Naruto's mood turned serious and asked her, "Now, I'm here for a particular reason. You have to answer me." Nojiko's face also turned serious and asked, "What might that be?" Naruto narrowed his eyes and his aura turned cold. As the Shinigami himself came, the room started to get colder. Naruto asked in cold manner, "What is the story with Nami? Why have I found almost 100 million berries worth of treasure buried in the garden? I knew her previously. She was stealing from Boogie the Clown. What's her reason for hiding that much treasure in the garden?" Nojiko's face turned sad. At first she refused to answer. But after some time, she looked at Naruto in a sad face and said, "Nami is gathering 100 million berries to buy back Kokoyashi village from Arlong." Naruto's eyes narrowed. He silently said, "I see. Tell me everything," he said to Nojiko. Nojiko took a deep breath and proceeded to tell their tale, starting with Bellamere, then the arrival of Arlong. How Arlong killed Bellamere right before their eyes, how Arlong found out about Nami's skill of drawing maps, the deal Nami made with Arlong in exchange for not harming the villagers, how Nami suffered for 8 years to gather 100 million berries. When Nojiko finished telling him Nami's story, Naruto sighed. He took a deep breath and muttered to himself, "Oh Jinbei, what have you done?" He then said to Nojiko, "It seems you yourself led quite a hard life, Nojiko-chan." Nojiko smiled sadly and said, "It was nothing compared to Nami. Her suffering is much deeper." Naruto then stood up to leave and said, "Sorry, Nojiko-chan, I took most of your time." Nojiko just waved, "It's alright. Oh my, I didn't even offer you tea." Naruto smiled and said, "No problem, Nojiko-chan. You can do that next time." He bade goodbye to her and went out. Nojiko sighed and was about to head out too, then suddenly the boy she saved from the Gosa village came bursting in and shouted, "Marines are here. They're here to save us." Nojiko's eyes widened and she ran out to the beach with the boy following behind her. With Naruto. Naruto had been traveling with the reporter for most of his stay at the island. Naruto had been gathering information for the most part and the reporter was busy filling up his journal. Naruto had watched a marine ship sunk by Arlong's men. We witnessed Luffy and his crew landing on the island through the sky. After almost 3 hours Naruto decided to head back to Kokoyashi village. But when he reached the village, he found a very different sight. There was a huge crowd and people were taking weapons out. Naruto noticed Genzo and called out, "Oi, Gen-san. What happened here?" Genzo noticed Naruto and said, "Naruto-san. Nami's been betrayed." Naruto's eyes narrowed and asked, "Betrayed by whom?" Genzo's expression turned sour. He explained, Nami was gathering money to buy back Kokoyashi village, but that bastard Arlong had no intention of upholding the promise. He just sent a marine officer to confiscate Nami's hard-earned treasures. That marine shot Nojiko. "He what?" Naruto growled. He immediately looked towards Nojiko and asked, "Are you okay, Nojiko-chan?" Nojiko answered, "Don't worry about me. Nami just went towards Arlong Park to demand an explanation from Arlong." Naruto grimaced, "That stupid girl. She's going to hurt herself." Genzo stood up in fury and said, "This is as far as it goes. Get your weapons. We're gonna fight." Everybody shouted agreeing with him. Naruto smirked and muttered to himself, "They finally got their fighting spirit. But I won't let them fight." Genzo shouted, 8 years ago, we said we'd never throw our lives away. That no matter how bad their abuse against us became, as long as Nami was fine, we were going to continue our fight of endurance. He waved in fury and shouted, but this is how they answer back. Now that there's no way for this village to be freed, we have no goal to survive for. Furthermore, we'll not forgive them for preying on Nami's kindness. Are there any objections? All of them shouted. No way. Let's go. We're already prepared to fight. We're not gonna take this anymore. Yeah, all of them raised their weapons. Wait. Everybody. Nami's voice interrupted them. All of them looked towards her as she ran towards them. Nami approached in panic mode and she said, just wait a little longer. I'm going to try again. I'll get the money again. It'll be easier this time, I have lots of experience. Nami said as if convincing herself. Naruto knew that there was no escape this time. No matter what she said, there was no one who would listen to her. They had already made up their minds. Still he watched the event silently. It's okay. You don't have to worry. Nami said, compared to that time everybody I'm fine. I'm fine so. Genzo walked forward and hugged Nami. She was surprised by the action of her father figure. Genzo slowly said to her. It's enough. We know what futility is like. You fought well, for our sake. It must have been more painful for you to join that crew, more painful than it is to cut yourself. You fought well. He reassured her with a painful voice. Tears started to dwell on Nami's eyes. Genzo released her from his hug and said, now, leave this village. Nami said in shock, Gen-san. Do it, Nami. Nojiko said. I can't. Nami shouted. Not-chan, Nami, some villagers said sadly. You've got brains and a dream, Nojiko started. Nojiko? Everybody. Nami shouted and said, I won't let you. She put a knife and held in front her to prevent her precious villagers from going to their deaths. She shakily shouted. Stop it, everyone. I don't want to see anyone get hurt anymore. You're gonna die. She took deep breaths. We know. Genzo said and grabbed the knife. It's useless, we've already decided in our hearts, the old doctor said. Nami started crying. Naruto watched the event unfold with shadows in his eyes. He was really angry. Genzo shouted, shocking Nami, get out of the way, Nami. He then faced the crowd taking out his sword and shouted, let's go, everyone. Even if we can't win, we'll show them our pride. Yeah, all of them shouted and charged forward towards Arlong Park. Nami watched them leave with horror-filled eyes. She could not do anything. She fell on her knees and the knife fell down. She looked towards her tattoo of Arlong Pirate on her left shoulder with such hate-filled eyes that she could tear it with her gazing. She instantly took back the knife and stabbed the tattoo yelling Arlong. She started stabbing her left shoulder, repeatedly yelling Arlong. Arlong, 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 R. Luffy stopped her from injuring herself further by grabbing her hand. Nami in tears looked towards Luffy and muttered, Luffy. What do you want? You don't know anything. She said to Luffy. You don't know what's been happening in this island for the past 8 years. Yeah, I don't know. Luffy said casually. Nami started shaking and started, this is none of your business. I told you to get off this island, didn't I? Yeah, you told me. Luffy said. She started brushing dirt on Luffy shouting, get away. 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 She started crying hysterically. She took her hand on her mouth and started sobbing. At last she gave in to her fear and asked Luffy, Luffy help me. Finally, that stupid girl asks for help. Naruto thought with a smirk. Luffy took of his straw hat and placed the hat on Nami's head. He went a few distance and shouted to the sky. Damn right I am. Hold on. Luffy. Naruto said from his position. Luffy blinked and looked at him, hey. Haku stupid girl. Why did you have to injure yourself? Naruto advanced towards Nami and looked at her wound. Luffy looked at him in confusion and asked, huh? Who are you? Nami looked at him with tear-filled eyes and muttered softly, Naruto. Flashback. Nami was sitting in front of Bellamir's grave praying for her soul. Nojiko was standing behind a tree. Nami opened her eyes and asked. Who was that blonde-haired pirate, Nojiko? Nojiko turned to Nami and said slyly, what? Nami, you're interested in man after all. Nami just huffed and said, HMPH as if. Nojiko laughed and said, oh, his name is Naruto Uzumaki. He healed Gen-san with some kind of strange ability. I think he has devil fruit power. Nami was surprised, what? Another devil fruit user? Flashback END. Naruto's hand glowed green and he started healing Nami's self-inflicted wound. The wound started to close and after few seconds the Nami's shoulder healed completely. Nami thought, Nojiko's right. This is really an ability of devil fruit. Yosh. It's done. Naruto said and stood up. Cool, Luffy shouted in stars in his eyes looking at Naruto's handiwork. He immediately said, "You must join my crew." Naruto looked at him dumbfounded and started laughing. He shook his head and answered, "Nah, no can do, Luffy. I'm captain of my own pirate crew." "What? You're a pirate?" Luffy asked and eyes wide. Naruto chuckled and he turned serious. He said, "Luffy, I understand that you want to beat up Arlong, but let me handle that. I have some business with Arlong." "What? I'm gonna beat Arlong?" Luffy shouted. Naruto looked at him and blasted a controlled amount of Hashoku haki, Conqueror's haki. Luffy immediately shut up and fell silent. Luffy had felt this power before, with Shanks. So, Luffy's instinct said not to fight this man. This man was dangerous. Seeing Luffy become silent, Zoro and Sanji also became dumbstruck. Naruto then said, "Let's go. Everyone." He immediately started walking towards Arlong Park with his Haori blowing in the wind. He looked like the death itself. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp and the news reporter followed behind him. Nami looked dumbfounded for some time. She had never seen Luffy fell silent before. This was something new. Just who was that man? She slapped herself from her stupor and also started going towards Arlong Park. Arlong Park. All of the villagers were ready to attack Arlong Park, but they were blocked by very beat-up Yusaku and Johnny. They had pulled out their swords and were standing guard in front of the gate of Arlong Park. "Didn't I tell you that you can't go there until those guys come here?" Yusaku shouted towards the people. "Bet your life on it. They'll definitely come." Yusaku said, "Remember the faces of those four, they have come to change destiny." Then he noticed the figures approaching and said, "Yes. They've come." But he was surprised to see another man with them and above all he was leading other four. There was another surprise there. Nami also came with them along with another man. Yusaku said in wonder, "What's going on? Who is that man that is in front of Anarchus?" All of the villagers instantly realized the man. Nojiko's eyes widened and said, "Naruto-san. What is he doing here?" Genzo agreed, "I don't know. What's going on here?" Slowly, the 7 figures approached. When they reached the plaza, Naruto ordered, "All of you stay here. I'm more than enough." Luffy didn't say anything and stopped. The others also stopped. Nami stood beside Nojiko. The reporter just took out his journal and prepared to write the events that were going to unfold here. Nojiko asked Naruto, "Naruto-san, what's going on here?" Naruto looked at her and smiled, "Nojiko-chan. Stay there. Everything's going to be alright now." He then looked at Genzo and said, "Gen-san, remember I told you to wait for the right moment. That moment has come. I'm going to put a show here." Naruto then proceeded to the door. Yusaku and Johnny tried to stop him, but Luffy stopped them. Luffy said, "Let's watch this." Inside the gate. "Shahahahaha," laughed Arlong cruelly. He asked his members, "Hey, do you think those 2 idiots were part of Zoro's gang?" Karubi answered, "Zoro's gang. They were far too weak. They weren't worth killing." "So true." Arlong agreed and started laughing. Suddenly, the gates of Arlong Park exploded and pieces of the rubble flew everywhere. Arlong shocked looked at the gate and exclaimed, "Hey." From the smoke a figure approached silently. He slowly approached inside of compound and muttered, "Let's the show begin." All of the villagers' eyes widened seeing the gate explode. Yusaku exclaimed in shock, he just walked through the gate and the gate started to twist and exploded. He didn't even touch the gate. Cool, Luffy had stars in his eyes. Even Zoro and Sanji's mouth fell. Usopp's eyes were wide in shock. "Who the hell are you?" Arlong demanded the stranger. The blonde-haired intruder started going towards the fishman and said, "I am the one who will create peace and order. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. A pirate and your executioner." Arlong's eyes widened in anger and to people's shock started laughing, "Shahahaha, my executioner. Don't make me laugh. What can an inferior human like you do? Don't you know what we are? We are the strongest race of the world. No one can defeat us." Chu said arrogantly. Naruto started laughing. After a moment he gave a full-blown laughter. He calmed down and said, "Superior race, ha, so that's why you hightailed from Grand Line and made up base in the East Blue. What superior race? You're weak, Arlong." "What did you say? You pathetic human." Arlong shouted. Naruto gave out his hand in front and stopped Arlong. He then said, "Arlong, you remember Borsalino, don't you?" All the fishmen gasped. Arlong's fury disappeared from his face and panic developed. He demanded, "What are you trying to say?" Naruto shrugged, "Nothing. It's just sad that you think yourself superior to humans when Borsalino, quite human himself, easily defeated you and sent you to impel down. Where is the superiority of your race then? Eh? Arlong?" Naruto asked. Arlong started to shake. Whether angry and fear nobody could tell. All the villagers also quieted shock. It was the first time they had ever seen Arlong speechless. Nojiko muttered. "How come Naruto-san knows Arlong's history? Is he from the Grand Line as well?" Genzo replied quite in shock, "I don't know. Naruto-san did say that he knew Arlong well. Nami could not believe her eyes. They had suffered for 8 years from Arlong, and this man was saying that Arlong was weak. What's going on here? Naruto again said, you also remember Jinbei, don't you? The Shichibukai. Compared to him, you're nothing but you couldn't survive Grand Line, so you came to the weakest of the 4 seas just to prove your superiority. You're pathetic, Arlong. Naruto continued with his tongue lashing, you've tarnished the name of your captain, the legendary hero Fisher Tiger. You didn't honor his wish. How can you call yourself a fish man then? Ha. Arlong. Hachi's eyes became downcast remembering his dead captain, Nayu. You've trampled his wish. You're nothing but a hateful shell of a fish man, Arlong. If Jinbei didn't think of you as a little brother, I think he would have left you to rot and impel down, but after so much trouble he had gone through to rescue you, what have you done to repay him? Ha. Arlong. Oi Arlong, answer me. Naruto shouted. Shut you pppp. Arlong shouted with top of his lungs. He punched the floor which broke into several pieces. He again shouted. You don't know anything. Tiger Iniki was killed by humans like you. You bastard humans have killed him. Don't you dare talk about him in front of me. Arlong took deep breath. I think I've wasted enough time with this stupid argument. Finish of this foolish human, my brethrens. Arlong ordered. All of the fishmen shouted, yeah. And charged at Naruto. Naruto shook his head in disappointment and muttered, they never learn. Stupid fishmen. He shouted, Kushina-chan. Release it. Hearing his sound, all the fishmen stopped and wondered what was going to happen. All of a sudden a booming sound was heard as if some kind engine was starting. Instantly, as if teleportation, a gigantic pirate ship appeared just outside the park at the sea. All the humans and fishmen's eyes popped up from their sockets when they saw a giant pirate ship appearing out of thin air. But the Arlong's eyes widened in shock. Suuuuj Usopp shouted as his eyes popped up. Suuukuul, Luffy yelled as his rubber body started swaying in excitement. Nami, Nojiko, Genzo, Sanji and Zoro had their mouth hanging open, seeing the gigantic pirate ship. Nojiko shouted, this is Naruto-san's pirate ship. ITS, gigantic. Zoro, Sanji and Nami yelled, what? But what was about to happen next would shake them to their very core. The dock of the pirate ship opened up as the upper part transformed and cannon came out. The cannon started charging up energy. Arlong's eyes widened even more. He had seen a similar attack like this from Kizaru. He shouted to his brethren, hey, run away, my comrades. It's too late. Naruto muttered as the cannon fired. A gigantic beam of energy blasted off from the mouth of the cannon and struck the park. Boom. An enormous explosion shook all the area covering everything. A giant shockwave blasted apart everything in its path. All the walls of the plaza were blown apart from the power of the explosion. Everyone who were outside the plaza shielded their bodies to withstand the shockwave, but they were also pushed back. All of a sudden all were blown backwards, even Luffy, Zoro and Sanji. Arlong along with all his brethren were blown away by the power of the blast. All other humans were saved by Luffy when he inflated his body to cushion all of them. Slowly the smoke and dirt from the plaza started clearing. All of them had mouth hanging open in shock. There was an enormous crater inside the plaza. Surprisingly, the giant center building Arlong Park remained unscathed. Zoro yelled with his mouth opened wide, what the hell was that? No cannon should have been capable of this much destruction. What kind of ship is that? Cool. A beam, Luffy and Usopp were swaying left and right with stars in their eyes. Nami and Nojiko stood up from the ground, eyes wide in shock. Nojiko asked Nami, can you explain me what the hell was that? Nami shook head in denial and said in shock, I don't know. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Genzo and other villagers had no words in their mouth after witnessing that attack. The reporter was also in quite shock. But he dealt with it easily because he had already witnessed the impossible from this man. So, nothing was going to surprise him anymore. Naruto looked at the handiwork of his designed cannon and gave a satisfying smirk. He shouted, oi Arlong, come on out. I know you're not dead. I didn't order Kushina-chan to target you. I even told her to use 1/5 of the cannon's power. 1/5, all the spectators shouted in shock. Then what will be the full-powered cannon capable of? Nami yelled in shock. One of the pillars was blasted back and became rubble. Arlong came out with few fishmen survivors. There were 3 survivors along with Arlong, Hachi, Kurubi and Chu. All other fishmen were dead. Some had their heads missing, some were crushed to bloody pulps, and some corpses had no hands or legs. It was a horrible sight. The plaza floor became red in blood. All the spectators gulped seeing the devastation and brutality. Genzo said in fear, what brutality? Even though they were our enemies, I almost feel sorry for them. Zoro narrowed his eyes and said, this man knew war. He isn't even sickened in the face of brutally murdered corpse. He himself felt sick just by watching the brutal action. It was just a simple blast of cannon. Now that the weaklings were dealt with, the man was going to fight himself and finish of the others. Zoro was sure of it. Sanji muttered, they all became sea fish paste. Serve those bastards right for making poor Nami-san cry. Everyone brace yourself. The main event is going to start. Watch this show until the end. Said the reporter said to all of them. What do you mean? Sanji asked. The reporter smirked, just watch. You'll understand. You bastard. Arlong muttered shaking in fury, what have you done to my brethren? I'm gonna fucking kill you. He shouted with all his fury. Hachi. Call Mamu, Arlong shouted giving order to Hachi. Hachi was slightly distracted seeing his friends' corpses. As soon as he heard Arlong he shook his head from his stupor and called the sea cow with strange method. He put his long mouth forward and played a strange sound which resembled some kind of trumpet. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the strange sound. He inwardly thought, are they even serious? He then noticed that the water just outside the plaza started rising. The area started shaking as if an earthquake was coming. Nojiko said trembling a little, it's coming. Slowly, it reached inside the plaza and emerged. From the water, an enormous sea cow emerged and moved in the air. The people of Kokoyashi village started panicking looking at the beast. They had already seen that beast's destruction and so they're not ready to face it again. Nami's eyes widened in shock and muttered, oh no. Not Mamu. The other villagers started to panic and one of them shouted, no way. That's the thing that destroyed Gosa. Usopp shouted, it's huge. Luffy and Sanji had a thoughtful look on their faces. Sanji recognized it and said to Luffy, oi, Luffy. Isn't it the cow we met just before coming here? Luffy just looked at the cow and said shrugging, oh it's just him. Sanji said, I didn't know that it was a fishman's nakama. Naruto noticed the sea cow and raised an eyebrow. It seemed that the cow had seen better days. It had large plums on the head as if someone had beaten it to a pulp. It was also crying. The sea cow looked around and noticed Luffy and Sanji. Immediately, its expression fell and it started to panic remembering the beating given him by them. It started crying heavily. Naruto's sweat dropped, now, what's going on? Why is he looking at Sanji and Luffy as if he is staring at the devil himself? Hachi was confused and said, oi, Mamu. What's gotten into you? Suddenly, the sea cow turned around and started to escape. Everybody was shocked looking at its behavior. Hachi shouted not understanding what was going on. Hey. Wait. I tell you. Mamu. Mamu. Arlong said in a deep voice, what are you doing? The cow stopped. Then Arlong again said, if you want to run away, I won't stop you. Right? Mamu. Arlong said with a cruel smirk. The sea cow's expression changed from fear to rage. It opened its mouth wide open with its razor-sharp teeth and charged at Naruto. Usopp shouted, Nuo, that guy's dead. Zoro smirked and thought, this should be good. Nami's eyes widened and she covered her mouth with her hand in shock. She was certain that Naruto wasn't going to survive that. Even Nojiko was frightened for Naruto. Naruto sighed and said, you should have run away when you had the chance. He put his right hand forward and opened his palm. Suddenly, the approaching cow stopped dead in its tracks as if it collided with an invisible barrier. It stumbled forward and couldn't move. Everybody's eyes widened in shock, even Arlong. But that Nami said eyes wide. He stopped the monster without touching it. Usopp said in shock. Even Luffy, Zoro and Sanji were surprised at the unexpected turn of events. Naruto slowly started raising his arm. To everyone's shock, the sea cow started rising in the air. It tried to break free from the grip but didn't succeed. Slowly, the cow was at 100 meters above the ground. By that time, the cow had stopped struggling as it developed an expression of panic. The cow was so afraid that it didn't even have the strength to move. Everybody's eyes were wide like at dinner plates. Naruto muttered, I'm not going to kill you. You're just in my way. Suddenly, an invisible shockwave blew from his palm and struck the cow's belly. The cow's belly looked like a pressed balloon as it spit out blood. Boom. An enormous explosion rocked from the belly of the cow and immediately it flew away from Arlong Park at the speed of the jet. It even crossed the speed of sound and disappeared around the clouds with a sonic boom. The shockwave also destroyed half of the surrounding walls of Arlong Park. Arlong and his crew's mouth fell in shock. Usopp and other villagers fell on the ground from overshocking. Usopp shouted, that guy's a monster. What the hell is he? Nami and Nojiko both shouted simultaneously. Luffy had stars in his eyes, cool. Zoro and Sanji had no words to utter. Genzo expressed in shock, is that even a battle between men? The reporter thought, what kind of power this man has? Naruto lowered his hand and looked at shocked-looking Arlong. He said, don't be shocked, Arlong. I've yet to show you my best. Arlong tightened his fist in rage. Blood was started to drip from his knuckles from over-tightening. He stood up and tried to approach Naruto, but Hachi blocked him. Hachi had 6 swords on his octopus limbs. Arlong-san, I will handle him. Hachi said, now no one has countered my Rakutoryu, 6 swords style. Arlong calmed down and said, Hachi. Take care of this trash. The octopus fishmen approached Naruto and prepared to fight. Naruto just stood there looking at him strangely. The reporter inwardly thought, is that fishman right in his head? He is trying to attack the man who just defeated Takanomi. Hachi charged at Naruto with his 6 swords ready. He started slashing repeatedly with intent to finish Naruto off. Naruto easily dodged the sword swings as if he was playing with a child. No matter what Hachi did, he could not give a single scratch to the blonde. In between dodging, Naruto was deep in thought. Suddenly, he jumped back from Hachi and said, you know, your name just reminded me of something. Hachi was red in anger even though he was already red to begin with. He said, what are you talking about? Hachi again charged at Naruto. Naruto dodged each and every sword swings and said, your name just reminded me of a human girl that was aboard on the ship of Fisher Tiger. Hachi suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. Even Arlong and his other members had their eyes widen. Arlong tightened his fist and barked, what did you just say? Naruto looked at him and replied, I said I remembered a human girl that came to the ship of fishmen. I think her name was Kola. Hachi's expression fell and he turned his head downcast. Arlong gritted his teeth in anger and shouted, how did you know about her? Naruto shrugged, I have my sources. Nami was confused. Nojiko looked at her and asked, what is he talking about? How can a human girl stay on those monsters' ship? Nami shook her head in negative and said, I don't know. Naruto then said, Fisher Tiger was such a kind man to allow a human to stay on his ship. Compared to him, you are nothing but shell of a fishman with nothing but rage and hatred. If it was you, you would have killed her on the spot. Arlong growled and said, humans are nothing, they're even lower than insects. It is my birthright to kill each and every one of them. Naruto muttered, it's no use talking to him. Boy, Hachi. What are you waiting for? Come. Naruto gestured to the fishman. Hachi took a look at Arlong and then charged at Naruto. Just like before, he again failed to land a single blow to the blonde. After countless times swinging his swords around, Hachi was getting tired of it. He stopped and shouted in anger with his limbs doing strange motions. Hey, why can't I hit you? Just tell me. Naruto gave a lazy smirk and answered, it's because you didn't say please. Hachi was seeing red in anger, this does it. I'm very angry right now. I'm going to show you the true power of Rakutoryu. This is a barrier of blades using my Rakutoryu, Hachi shouted and charged at Naruto. Rakutoryu, Teiko Ashai Kaiken, 6 sword style, octopus leg danger. Clank. All the 6 swords struck on something solid. Sparks flew away in all directions as the 6 swords were stopped by something. What Hachi said in shock looking at the impossible. All 6 swords struck Naruto's body, but the swords didn't even penetrate his skin. All swords were stopped by his body. Everyone's mouth fell in shock. Nami shouted, what is his body made of? Steel. Zoro said in shock, this is crazy. He didn't even move. He just stood there as if nothing happened. Luffy started laughing, shishi that guy's cool. Usopp was dumbfounded. Other villagers were long since silent. After the battle had commenced, nothing Naruto did would surprise them anymore. Naruto gripped all the 6 swords and pushed them off his body. He then slowly said to a shell-shocked Hachi, now, I'm going to show you how outclassed you really are. One finger, Naruto said with his finger raised, one finger is enough to beat you. Hachi became enraged and shouted, what? Rakutoryu, Teikotsuba no Kami, 6 sword style, octopus pot stance. Hachi took a stance with all his swords pointing at one direction. He then charged. Shinshan, New Year. Naruto muttered, it's useless talking to an idiot. He raised his finger and all the swords struck on it. His finger didn't even budge. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched all the swords stopped by just one finger. Hachi exclaimed in shock, what? Naruto said with a deep voice, I'm bored of this fight. Let's finish this. He swung his finger and instantly a clank sound could be heard. To everyone's shock, all of Hachi's swords broke in several pieces. What the? Hachi said looking at his fallen swords. Naruto vanished from his spot and appeared before Hachi and flicked his finger on his forehead where the symbol of Sun Pirates was located. A shockwave blew past the plaza as the finger struck and the octopus fishman flew away from his spot. He flew at the speed of a bullet and struck some pavements, breaking them away. He then collided with the surrounding wall right in front of the crowd that was still intact after the cannon blast and stuck there. He didn't get up anymore. All of them stepped back as Hachi lay unconscious on the wall. They all had shocked expression. Nami slowly said, I just don't understand what is going on anymore. It all took him just one finger to knock out Hachi. Just how strong is this guy? Nojiko looked at the blonde and said, where was he all this time? Genzo just couldn't believe his eyes. He had never seen someone so strong. Luffy said, that guy is really strong. Zoro said, narrowing his eyes, why didn't he use his sword? Is it that the octopus was too inferior to even give him the taste of his blade? Sanji took a cigarette and lit it. He took a whoop and muttered, this guy is dangerous. He may become trouble for us in the future. Naruto looked at the unconscious Hachi and then looked towards Arlong. He mocked, is that it? Is anyone in your brethren who can give me a challenge? Chu and Karubi stepped forward. Chu said, don't get too confident. We are still here. You are still no match for our race, Chu. Naruto sighed, just how arrogant are you people? Don't you realize how outclassed you are? Chu shouted, I said don't get too confident. He then spit out a barrage of water drops like bullets. Ayapatsu Mizudepo, 100-shot water gun. Like bullets fired from a Gatling gun, hundreds of water bullets were raining down on Naruto. Naruto effortlessly dodged every single one of them. He jumped back. Daijin Karate, Senator Maigawara Seiken, Fishman Karate, 1000 direct punch. The Fishman Karate master launched his attack from Naruto's back. Naruto smirked and vanished into thin air. What the Karubi exclaimed but immediately spit out blood as a punch struck from downward. Naruto had lightly punched the Fishman from underneath. The Karate Fishman flew in the air. In midair, Naruto instantly appeared and kicked him in the face. The Fishman didn't even stand a chance. With a loud boom he struck on the Arlong Park and 1 or 2 rooms of the building became rubbles. He didn't get up anymore. Naruto again vanished from his spot, appeared before the water-spitting Fishman and kicked him in the chin. All the teeth of the Fishman broke on the impact as he too sailed into the air. Naruto appeared above him and gave a flip and a tremendous kick on his belly. The Fishman spit out blood and saliva at the impact and flew towards the ground like a cannonball. Boom. He struck on the ground creating a mushroom-like smoke of dust and debris. After the dust cleared, all became clear. The Fishman was upside down with his upper part underground. Naruto landed on the ground. All the spectators had their jaw on the ground. Usopp shouted with mouth hanging open, this is too much. Zoro said with concern, this guy's too strong. If he becomes our enemy, we'll not stand a chance. Luffy was too awestruck to even care of the threat. He shouted, this guy is too cool. The reporter slowly said, this was bound to happen. That guy doesn't know the meaning of restraint. He shivered remembering the previous fight of Naruto and Mihawk. Nami said, you tell me. He is easily beating Arlong's crew. Nojiko said, now just left is to beat Arlong. Once he is defeated, we'll be free. Arlong stood up with his eyes red in anger. He muttered, Hachi, Karubi, Chu. I'll never forgive you for what you did to my brethren. You think I'll just sit back and watch while you kill my beloved crew? Arlong shouted. Naruto raised an eyebrow and said, I never said you to sit and watch. You're the one who was arrogant enough to order your crew to fight me. If you weren't so arrogant, you might have saved 1 or 2 of your comrades. But your thoughtlessness has caused your brethren to lose their lives. Naruto said mockingly. Shut your trap. Arlong shouted in extreme anger. He was shaking in fury. Soon, you'll be wishing you hadn't come here. I'm gonna pulverize you. Arlong angrily said. Naruto just imitated his scared look, oh scary. Quite mockingly. Arlong asked in anger, do you know the difference between us? Naruto put his hand on his chin and mused, maybe our faces, you know you're quite ugly. What the hell is wrong with him? Yusaku shouted. Arlong yelled, it's the races. He charged with his eyes diluted in anger and tried to bite Naruto with his shark teeth. Naruto easily dodged the attack. Arlong started using consecutive bites to pulverize Naruto to a bloody paste, but Naruto dodged every bite effortlessly. At one time, after Naruto dodged another bite, Arlong bit a column of Arlong Park. Usopp shouted with confidence, that idiot. He'll bite off his own tongue. His teeth must be. His and other people's shock. Arlong bit through the entire column like a biscuit. The entire column became rubble. Isaku and Johnny shouted in shock, he bit the column into pieces. Sanji inwardly thought with his eyes wide, holy shit, what is this guy? Those teeth, they wouldn't just scar him if he were to get bitten, it'd go through and break his bones, too. Naruto whistled looking at the rubble pieces, wow, what teeth. Arlong had gotten his confidence back as Naruto had not done anything other than dodging his attack. He had concluded that Naruto was not able to counter his attacks. He laughed and looked at Naruto. He said in confidence, behold. This is the true power of fishmen. The heavens have made a distinction between us. The heavens only gave you humans enough strength to exist below us. You are inferior animals. From the moment we were born, everything was different. I'll show you just how different we really are. Naruto rubbed his ears and hummed. He said in a bored tone, huh? Did you say something? Everybody in the vicinity sweat dropped. Nami and Nojiko face palmed. Zoro and Sanji had dumbfounded expressions. Usopp shouted, is that guy right in the head? Ha ha ha, that guy's funny. Luffy laughed. Arlong's eyes diluted in anger and he charged again to bite Naruto's throat out. Naruto sighed. He immediately vanished from his spot and just gave a light slap on Arlong's cheek. Arlong spit out saliva and blood from the impact and flew away towards the building. He gave a massive collision with the building, breaking away several rooms and making them all rubbles. Woohoo, he's done it. Usopp shouted with joy. Yes. Every other villager shouted, thinking Arlong had been defeated. Naruto looked at them and said in a cold voice, "It's not over yet. I've yet to instill some manners into his thick skull." Boom. The remaining wall of the front room was blasted open as Arlong came out. He was bleeding from his mouth and some of his teeth were broken. Everybody was quite shocked at the development. They did not anticipate Arlong losing his teeth. Arlong's teeth broke. Everyone shouted. Arlong started approaching Naruto. He muttered in fury, "You lowlife." His broken teeth fell off and instantly new shark teeth grew back and took place. Luffy shouted, "Eh?" His teeth grew back. Arlong said, "That's because I'm a shark. My teeth will grow back over and over with stronger ones every time." He started replacing his teeth with new teeth growing to take place the previous ones. Arlong again started grinning and said, "Are you beginning to understand just how superior I am?" He took two teeth along with the gums with his two hands and attacked Naruto. Twist gum. Naruto dodged the attack and backflipped away. He instantly charged in high speeds and kicked the two teeth from Arlong's hands and instantly gave Arlong a spinning kick on his head. Arlong shouted in pain as he flew away from Naruto and fell into the water with a loud splash. The water rose to 10 meters height and fell back. Naruto muttered, "I'm tired of your arguments." The spectators were quite shocked. Sanji muttered, "No matter what that shark does, he is still no match for that guy. Just who is he?" Nojiko looked at Nami and said, "Why does it feel so easy watching Naruto-san like that?" Nami said, "I don't know. Where was he hiding all this time? It's like watching a parent toying with his children." Under the water, Arlong had recovered from the attack. Even though it was powerful, Naruto had held back. Arlong thought, "Idiot. Now I have the advantage. No one can surpass my speed underwater. This is a special trait only we fishmen have." Arlong dove towards the bottom and prepared to attack. Shark on darts. In high speeds, Arlong emerged from the water with the intention of piercing Naruto with his sharp nose. Naruto already saw Arlong coming from the water and he noticed that Arlong was aiming for his head. He slightly tilted his head at the last second and muttered, "Too slow." Arlong missed Naruto and collided with the building, making several upper floor rooms into rubbles. Usopp shouted, "What the?" "A torpedo?" Sanji asked, eyes wide. Something shot out from the sea. Someone from the crowd shouted. From the rubbles, Arlong came out. He mocked, "Oh. You dodged that well. But dodging is just dodging. The next one will send you to hell." Shark on darts. He again came down towards Naruto as a torpedo with intent to pierce him. Naruto muttered, "Useless." He immediately took hold on Arlong's long sharp nose and used Arlong's momentum to spin him around like a ragdoll and threw him into one of the columns. Arlong flew away spinning like a fan and collided with the column, making it to pieces and then embedded into the wall. Arlong recovered from that and again came towards Naruto using the same technique. As soon as he was about to pierce him, Naruto vanished into thin air. All of a sudden, a tremendous blow landed on Arlong's back and Arlong spit out blood. He was embedded onto the ground from the blow. Usopp shouted, "Holy hell. How fast is that guy? He just vanished into thin air." Zoro said, "I can't keep up with his speed. His is too fast." Naruto landed a few feet from Arlong's fallen form. He said, "Get up, Arlong. It's not enough to finish you off." After few seconds, Arlong slowly got up from his position on the ground. He looked quite angry. His eyes looked kind of devils. Nojiko, Genzo and Nami started sweating. Genzo muttered, shaking, "Arlong's eyes have changed." Sanji said, "That's what people said happened to the Sea King's eyes when they were attacked, that he changed and went berserk." Nami's eyes were glued in fear and she said, covering her face, "Arlong, with those eyes, I've never seen him like this." Arlong shouted with all his fury, "You inferior human. How did you do this to me, a fish man?" Arlong jumped towards the building and tore through it with his bare hands and picked up something from one of the rooms. A large sword with big shark teeth was pulled out by Arlong. It looked like a saw. "What's that?" Luffy asked. "Kiribachi. Saw-shaped sword," Nami shouted in slight nervousness. Isaku and Johnny's mouth fell in shock and exclaimed, "With huge teeth." Arlong took the huge saw sword and swung towards Naruto with the intention to shred him. Naruto dodged the swing and muttered, "That sword resembles Samehada. But it could never match the power of that sword." The sawtooth sword destroyed some of the rooms. Arlong yelled and again swung the sword. Naruto gave a mischievous smile and ducked the swing. He instantly gave a small uppercut with his elbow on Arlong's chin. Arlong yelled in pain and immediately flew away and collided with the top floor of Arlong Park and went right through the wall, making it rubbles. Naruto jumped upwards towards the building and also went inside the room through the hole Arlong made when he collided. Sanji muttered in wonder. They went inside. Nami's eyes widened in shock. That was the room she had spent for past 8 years to draw maps for Arlong. The job she wasn't very fond of. Of all, they had to go into that room. She gripped her hands tightly. Naruto looked around the room and noticed large number of drawn maps. His expression immediately grew cold. Naruto said with a low voice, "This is a cartography room, isn't it?" Arlong had recovered from the blow and said arrogantly, "Of course. This room, the room for that girl to draw maps." "So, this is Nami's room," Naruto muttered looking around. Arlong said, "All of them are sea maps that Nami drew for me. It's impressive, isn't it? Her 8 years of work. My treasure. We know the sea like the back of our hands, but it's hard for us to make maps. We needed a skilled cartographer." Naruto scowled. Arlong continued, "Then I found that girl, with her talented eye. That girl's a genius. You won't find anyone who can draw more accurately. She's too good to serve you humans. Her talent exists to serve us fishmen forever. Nami is our Nakama." "Nakama? Huh?" Naruto asked. "Yes, just stay out of our way. You blonde bastard," Arlong yelled. "Look around you. How many people in the world that can draw perfect maps like her? There couldn't be anything more stupid than wasting such a talent. For that girl, it's best for her to continue her work here. Her greatest happiness. For me to rule this world, Nami's maps are a necessity," Arlong said with his eyes diluting even more. Arlong again said, "She will keep drawing maps for the sake of my ambition. And once I have the maps of all the seas of the world, no one will be able to stand against me. The whole world will be mine. And it all starts right here, on this island in East Blue." "How can you use that girl better than me?" Arlong shouted. Naruto looked at Arlong with shadowy look and slowly asked, "Use?" At the outside, people were quite nervous. They didn't know what's going to happen. Someone asked, "What's going on there?" "Damn it. What's happening?" Yusaku shouted. Luffy was silent for the whole time. He slightly understood the predicament. He noticed the look on Nami's face. He didn't know the full story, but his instinct told him to watch this to the end. Inside the room was different case. Naruto slightly asked, "What do you take her for?" Arlong laughed cruelly and said, "Inferior race, but still a smart woman. If the rest of the human race is little rats, then she's a cunning cat. And she's a cute one to boot. Here, she gets food and shelter, and we buy her all the clothes she wants. As long as she lives, she will have nothing to worry about. As long as she keeps drawing maps for me, it's all good. She will forever be my tool." "No, my Nakama shahahaha." Arlong finished his speech with his trademark laughter. Naruto slowly approached a table that had piles of drawn maps Nami drew. He rubbed the maps with his palms and muttered, "Now, I completely understand." He pushed the table and immediately the table flew away from the room along with the maps. "What the?" Arlong exclaimed. Boom. All of the people outside immediately looked towards the sound. To their surprise, a broken table with maps flew downwards. Sanji asked, "A desk?" "It's a desk." Yusaku and Johnny exclaimed. Nami immediately recognized her drawn maps. She muttered, "Those are." Inside the room, Naruto pushed all the good that had maps Nami had drawn outside the room. The room got almost destroyed. All the maps along with rubbles started falling down from Arlong Park. "Why you? What the hell are you doing?" Arlong shouted. Usopp shouted, "What's going on? What's up with all this furniture flying out?" Arlong shouted, "You bastard. It took her 8 years to draw these. And you're destroying them. Along with my ambition." Outside, Nami slowly brought her hands to cover her mouth as she started crying. Tears started falling from her eyes. She was grateful of Naruto as he destroyed her hated room. She thought in tears, "Thank you, Naruto." Nojiko looked at her foster sister and gave a sad smile. She understood the implications of Naruto's actions. She also inwardly thanked the blonde-haired hero. "You bastard." Arlong yelled and swung his sword towards Naruto. Naruto butted away the sawtooth sword with the back of his palm. All the teeth of the sword broke like glass and the sword broke into several pieces. "What?" Arlong exclaimed in shock. Naruto slowly muttered, "This room. This abomination. The room Nami didn't want to stay. I can't let this room to exist anymore." The familiar ripple patter of his eyes returned. He opened his both hands wide open and prepared to destroy the room. Arlong yelled and tried to attack Naruto, but he was too late. Shinra Tensei, almighty push. Boom. The entire building of Arlong Park exploded, emitting a gigantic shockwave. All the people outside flew back from the power of the shockwave. The entire building broke into several pieces and pieces flew into all directions. With Naruto as the epicenter, the entire building blew back. The entire region was covered in dust and rubbles. People who had flown back were somewhat recovered and had their jaw dropped looking at the devastation. Usopp shouted with his mouth hanging open, "What the hell happened?" Sanji asked in shock, "Just how powerful is this guy?" Even Luffy and Zoro had jaw hanging open. Nami and Nojiko were at a loss for words. All the other viewers were either shocked or terrified. Suddenly, a body flew out from inside the dust and it fell back on the ground. It was Arlong and he was clearly not okay. He looked like a bloody paste. He was bleeding from head to toe and his sharp nose was broken. He looked half dead. Footsteps could be heard approaching from the dust. The blonde-haired pirate emerged from the dust clouds like the death god himself. He stood at some distance from Arlong. Isaku said with shock, "He doesn't even have a single scratch on his body." Genzo also muttered in shock, "This is a completely unexpected turn of events." The reporter muttered to himself, "I knew he could destroy Arlong easily. But to this extent." Naruto slowly said, "Get up Arlong. I'm not finished with you yet." Arlong's body twitched slightly. He started getting up slowly and shakily. He was in his last legs. How the hell is he still standing? He looks half dead. Usopp shouted in shock. He clearly has a tough body. Zoro gave his thought. Naruto took a deep breath and said, "I completely understood why you took Nami, Arlong. It was to draw your god-forsaken maps no doubt. But there is another reason deeper than that." All of the crowd wondered Naruto's speech. They were also curious of what Naruto had to say. Nami listened in rapt attention. "The reason you took Nami under your brethren is that she has too much similarities with the other girl, Kola," Naruto said. "You wanted to treat Kola the same as you did to Nami. But because of your Captain Fisher Tiger, you were not given the chance." Both the girl contradicts each other. Well, Kola entered because Fisher Tiger was asked to take her. On the other hand, Nami was forced to join against her will, Naruto said. Nami gasped. Nojiko gripped her hands tightly. Genzo gritted his teeth. "Well, Kola was never forced to slavery, but you made Nami a personal slave. Well, Kola remained in the Fishmen crew only a few days. You intended to keep Nami in the crew forever. You wanted Nami to do what would have been Kola's to do if she didn't join with Fisher Tiger. You thought as long as Nami had food and clothing, then she would have been happy, but that thought applied in case of only Kola," Naruto said. "You wanted to feel what the Tenryubito feels when they are surrounded by their slaves. You know what, Arlong, you are a hypocrite in the highest level," Naruto said. Arlong shakily took a deep breath and yelled, "What's it to you? I can do whatever I like. I am the most superior of all Kree." Splash. He couldn't finish his sentence as he felt his strength leave his body. His eyes widened in fear and shock as he looked at Naruto, who was near his body, as Naruto's hand went right through his heart. Blood was flowing from the hole in his chest like a river. Everybody in the vicinity had their eyes widened in shock in the face pure brutality. They couldn't follow his movements. 1 second he was there and in an instant his hand had gone right through Arlong's chest. "What the?" Arlong shakily said as he coughed up blood. Nami and Nojiko covered their mouth in shock. They hadn't seen anyone kill their target like this. Naruto looked into his eyes and said coldly, "Look, Arlong. Your blood is red. You share the same blood as us humans. Then where is the superiority came from, Arlong?" For the first time in his life Arlong was afraid of a human being. He was about to die. He can feel his imminent death. He shakily said, What the hell are you? You are not a human. Why you can't be a human?" Naruto whispered to Arlong, "That's right, Arlong. I'm a god." Arlong's eyes widened in shock and immediately he slumped forward. Naruto removed his hand from Arlong's chest as Arlong hit the ground with a thud. Arlong was dead. An end of a hate-filled world in an anticlimactic way. Everybody was silent throughout the incident as they were even afraid to utter a single word. No one had thought that Naruto would kill someone with such brutality. Never in their wildest imaginations had Nami and Nojiko thought that Naruto would kill Arlong in such a way. "Nami, never forget that you are our friend. You listening?" Naruto said from his spot, giving her warm smile. Luffy took a deep breath and said to Nami, "Nami, you are my nakama." Nami started crying. She nodded and said, "Yes." Zoro, Sanji and Usopp smiled. Someone from the crowd shouted, "It's over. We won." The doctor said, "We won." Isaku and Johnny shouted in joy, "We won." Yada, all of them started rejoicing, Arlong Park has fallen. Nojiko smiled as said, "Thank goodness." Genzo said quite disbelievingly, are we dreaming? I can't believe this day has finally come." They started shouting and celebrating. They approached Naruto and took him in their shoulders and started bouncing him up and down. Luffy and Nami locked their palms with identical grins as Nami returned Luffy's hat to him. Usopp was also rejoicing. Zoro smirked and Sanji was smoking a cigarette. Shishishi, Luffy laughed. Naruto was released from people's cheers as he stood in front of all of them. He said to all of them, "Sorry, everyone. You had to see all of that. I was so angry that I forgot to spare him. At first I wanted to leave him alive so that Marines could collect him, but after what he said to me at that room, I could not spare his life. He had to go. Genzo stood up and said, "Don't worry Naruto-san. You're a pirate aren't you? Pirates are not known for being merciful. We have seen many such scenes for the past 8 years. You in fact spared some of them." Naruto scratched his head and laughed, "Haha, that's true. That's enough, scumbags." Someone yelled. Everybody looked towards the origin of the voice. It was the Marine captain who shot Nojiko after she tried to stop him from taking Nami's treasures. "Not him." Someone from the crowd muttered in disgust. The Marine captain looked like a rat with long whiskers and had an arrogant grin. He laughed, "Chisisi, well, this must be my lucky day. Nice work. I enjoyed the show, but I would have never thought that these fishmen would be defeated by the likes of you silly pirates. But thanks to you, Arlong's bounty, as well as all of Arlong Park riches, will be mine." He shouted, "Everyone put down your weapons. I, Captain Izumi, of the Marine 16th Battalion, will be taking over from here." He could not finish his sentence as Zoro gripped him from behind and said, "Don't spoil the mood when people are trying to celebrate." And he proceeded to beat him to a bloody pulp along with his subordinates. Izumi along with other Marines were left on the ground as bloody goons. He was still trying to offer his authority, "If you dare to hit me again, I won't let you live." Sanji sighed and deadpanned, "You're still talking." Nami slowly approached with her stick and sat down near the Marine captain. She said, "This is for shooting Nojiko and for messing up Bellemere-sen's Tangerine Grove." She hit him with her stick with all her might. The Marine flew away and dropped on the water with a splash. Nojiko winked at Nami and said, "Thanks Nami. That was satisfying." Genzo was not finished yet and yelled, "And there's 1,000 more where that came from, jerk." Naruto laughed and said, "Don't forget me too. I too need to punish you for shooting Nojiko-chan." Izumi slowly got up from the water huffing. Nami approached him and took hold of his whiskers and said demandingly, "Now. You guys will take care of cleaning up after the fishmen and help reconstruct Gosa village. But you will not touch even the slightest bit of the fishmen riches. They belong to the people of this island. Understand?" Izumi said in panic, "Ow, ow. I'll do as you say." Nami again said, "Again one more thing, give me back my money." "I'll give it back, honestly. I don't want it anymore," Izumi promised. As Nami released him, he started swimming away from the crowd and in an instant his personality turned 180 degrees. He shouted, "This won't be forgotten, you lousy pirates. Straw hat guy and blonde-haired bastard, your names are Luffy and Naruto, right? You two are captains, right? Don't forget this. You're gonna be big after messing with me. Too late for make amends now. I'll make you sorry. Mark my words." He shouted and swam away. Sanji muttered, "He said we're gonna be big. How'd he know I was gonna be the pirate king?" Luffy said in wonder. Zoro yelled to Luffy, "He wasn't talking about that, you idiot." Usopp yelled in panic, "What do we do now? If we become notorious, what'll happen to us? What'll we do?" Huh. Naruto muttered, "What the hell is he talking about? Becoming big was my plan from the start." "Alright everyone. We can't just celebrate this by ourselves." Genzo shouted to the crowds. "Carry the news to the whole island." He shouted. "Yeah." All of them agreed and started running towards the island to give the rest of the people the good news. Arlong Park has fallen. All of the Straw Hat Pirates started laughing along with Naruto. Nojiko looked at Nami and said, "Isn't it great, Nami?" Genzo muttered in wonder, "Who would have thought we'd be saved by pirates? What's the world coming to?" He shook his head. The doctor said in conviction, "At last, Bellemere's soul can ascend to heaven, in peace." The reporter at the corner of destroyed Arlong Park stopped his writing and inwardly thought that Captain Izumi is dead wrong. "By the time I'm finished, the world will see a new face of the devil." He smirked to himself and started going towards the island to search for a den mushy transponder snail. Naruto looked at him from the corner of his eyes and gave a mysterious smile. Chapter 4. Becoming world famous. Kokoyashi village. After Naruto killed Arlong, the villagers of Kokoyashi village and other villagers were in festive mode. The witnesses of the entire incident spread the news of the fall of the Arlong Park to the entire island. As soon as the news got close to their ears, the entire population of the island celebrated their freedom after 8 years. They could not believe that at last they were free from the enslavement of the fishmen. They would not have to ever live in fear again. They would not have to lose their loved ones ever again. The entire villagers gathered around Kokoyashi village and organized a party. They drank, danced with each other, sang songs and celebrated the victory over Arlong. Naruto was enjoying the party as he sat over a bench. He had a barrel of sake which the villagers provided for his enjoyment. So, he was watching Luffy swallowing mountains of food as he drank. Luffy was unstoppable as soon as they brought food, especially meat. He laughed to himself as he watched a young pirate finishing up one after other meat sticks. I was pretty much like that when it came to ramen, Naruto inwardly thought, although I broke away from that habit after meeting mom. On the other side of the crowd there was another bench where Nojiko was sitting watching the dancing crowd. She was enjoying herself fully. After 8 long years she had the opportunity to enjoy the life fully. She was also drinking. Wani-chan. Someone shouted. Nojiko looked towards the source of voice and found that the boy she rescued from the Gosa village was running towards her. He reached her and was smiling. Nojiko asked, "Oh, Chabo." The boy excitedly said, "I just had a good look at Arlong Park. It's amazing. It's all smashed to bits." "Pretty impressive, huh?" Nojiko asked him. "Yeah, whoever did it must be an awesome guy." "Who was it?" "He's still here, isn't he? The man who defeated Arlong?" Chabo excitedly asked. Nojiko looked towards Naruto and answered, "Yeah, he's right over there." The boy asked looking everywhere, "Where? Which one? Who?" Nojiko pointed towards Naruto and said, "That man. The man with blonde hair." The boy looked at Naruto and his eyes widened, "Amazing. He looks so cool." Nojiko laughed and said, "Isn't he? He took down the entire crew of fishmen alone. And he didn't receive a single scratch on his body." "What? He's that strong?" the boy asked in surprise. Nojiko sighed and said, "I don't think he had shown us his true powers. I don't know how much powerful that man is. He toyed with Arlong." Chabo's eyes widened in surprise, "Really?" He looked at Naruto with a new light and respect. Naruto had seen the boy looking at him and he smiled and waved at the boy. The boy quickly looked away. Nojiko also noticed it and laughed. She pinched his cheek and said in amusement, "How cute. You are such a shy little boy." The boy shouted, "Shut up. Stop pinching me, you hag." "Oh, so I'm a hag?" Nojiko asked him raising an eyebrow. The boy didn't say anything. On the other side Naruto stood up and approached Nojiko and the boy. He sat down on the bench the duo was sitting. He took a gulp of sake and sighed. He looked at them and asked, "Enjoying the party?" Nojiko laughed and said, "Yes, how about you?" Naruto also smiled and said, "I'm also enjoying it. It is much more fun to watch Luffy gulp down all the food." Nojiko looked at the Straw Hat Captain and said, "You're right. Nami's nakama, huh?" Nah, how did you defeat Arlong?" the boy named Chabo asked Naruto excitedly. Naruto looked at him. He smirked and said, "Because I'm awesome." The boy's sweat dropped and muttered, "Is that guy really defeated Arlong?" Naruto just smirked and ruffled the boy's hair. He said, "It's best that you didn't see that. I hope you never have to see such things again." The boy confusedly asked, What are you talking about?" Nojiko smiled sadly and said, "Chabo, listen to him. He is telling the truth." Then she asked, "What about your other crew members, Naruto-san?" Naruto looked at her and laughed, "Haha, my crew members, huh? No, I'm also a new pirate like Luffy. I have only 3 members right now. One is away on an errand and other is in the ship." Nojiko frowned and asked, "How come you only have 3 members? A pirate of your caliber should have a huge crew. I mean, look at your ship. It's gigantic. How are you able to navigate such a huge ship with just 3 members? I don't know much about sailing and all, but even a kid knows that you would need a huge crew to navigate a huge ship." Naruto laughed at the question and said, Nojiko-chan. We pirates have secrets. There is much you don't know about me. So, it's kind of a secret. Unless you're a member of my crew, I can't divulge my secrets to you. And as for me not having a larger crew, well, I'm not going to take any random guy for my crew. To become my crew member, one must have the potential to become great in his life. Because, the people I will choose will end up my top officers one day." Naruto finished and gulped down another sake mug. "What do you mean?" Nojiko asked. Naruto looked at the dancing crowd and said slowly, "Although I don't have big ambitions like Luffy who wants to become the pirate king. But I do have a goal I want to achieve. I will need some trustworthy people for my crew when I reach that goal." Nojiko put her hand on her chin and asked, So what kind of goal you are aiming for?" Naruto looked at her eyes and said, "Since you're not a member of my crew, I can't give my whole plan to you. But as a friend, we are friends, are we not?" he asked subtly. Nojiko also looked at his cerulean orbs and said immediately, "Of course. I'm your friend. In fact, the people of the whole island are your friends now. After all, you have given us the thing that we always dreamt about." Naruto smiled and said, "Thank you." "So, where was I?" "Oh yes, as a friend I will tell you my first step of achieving that goal. My first step is to reach to a level where I will have the authority to instill some of my schemes in the world. My guess is that as a pirate, the highest possible level of power one can get is the position of Yonko, excluding the pirate king of course." "Yonko? I don't understand," Nojiko said. Naruto asked, "What? You don't know about the Yonkos?" Nojiko shook her head and said, "Don't ring a bell." "Well, I've never been to Grand Line, so I don't know much about that place." So, what are yonkos? Naruto sighed and said, alright. Have you heard about the strongest man of the world? Nojiko nodded and answered, of course. Who don't know that pirate? Whitebeard. Naruto sighed in relief and said, at least you know of him. So, I will start with him. Whitebeard is one of the yonkos. Nojiko's eyes widened. She shouted, what? Naruto laughed and said, don't be shocked. Now, along with Whitebeard, there are 3 other great pirates who are titled as the yonkos. The title of Yonko was given to that pirate who has become so powerful that even the world government can't stop them. They are like emperors who rules over certain territories. The entire world's power is balanced by 3 superpowers, one is the Aokasha Chibukai which you already know, second one is the Marines, and the third is the Yonko. If even one of them falls, there will be chaos, and the power balance will no longer remain the same. The entire world will descend into the abyss which no one can escape from unless there is a new system created. Naruto took a deep breath. He then said, like Whitebeard, the other 3 yonkos' name are Kaido, Big Mom and the Akagami, red-haired, Shanks. They are all great names in the pirate business and strike fear in the heart of enemies. Nojiko was listening in rapt attention and suddenly gasped and covered her mouth with shock. She exclaimed, are you telling me you want to thwart one of the current yonkos and take his place? Naruto raised an eyebrow and asked, what? You think I can't do it? Nojiko blushed slightly and said looking away from Naruto, I didn't mean it like that. I just. Naruto laughed, don't worry Nojiko-chan. Everyone will be doubtful if someone mentions such crazy things like that. Nojiko turned to him and nodded. She asked, if the yonkos are so powerful, then how will you be able to defeat them? Naruto answered, that is why I told you I need some trustworthy crew members. But I will get them eventually. Well, also, I have confidence in myself that I will be able to it. Naruto said looking at the dancing crowd. Although, I can pretty much defeat any one of yonkos if I want. He inwardly thought. Nojiko smiled looking at his confident face. As Naruto was looking away from her, she slowly mustered her resolve and quickly gave him a kiss on his cheek. Feeling a wet sensation of warm lips pressed on his cheek, Naruto turned around eyes wide. He asked shocked, what? What was that for? Nojiko laughed, ha 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 ha, she suddenly stood up and said, that was just a good luck charm. But that she ran away from him and disappeared among the dancing crowd. Naruto just looked at her disappeared figure with a dumbfounded expression. The kid next to him saw the whole thing and said looking at Naruto. Your girlfriend is such a skank. Naruto looked at him and flicked him on his forehead. Tai, the boy named Chabo exclaimed covering his forehead. Naruto said to the boy, she is not my girlfriend. And don't you have a party to celebrate? Go and enjoy yourself, brat. The boy shouted to Naruto, I am not a brat. And ran inside the dancing crowd. Naruto sighed and drank the entire mug of sake in one gulp. He muttered slowly, stupid kid and a crazy woman. What am I getting myself into? After few days. The people of the Kokoyashi village celebrated the victory over Arlong for 3 days and 3 nights. They partied to the exhaustion. In those days, Luffy almost emptied the entire food supply of the island. Usopp had hero worshipped himself with his ridiculous songs till he dropped. After few days, finally it was time for Luffy and his crew to leave the island. Naruto had decided to leave after Luffy left for his journey. In those days, he became very good friends with the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Luffy had tried to make him join his crew many times, but he didn't succeed. After all, Naruto had his own pirate crew to look after. So, with gathering as much provision and food supply, Luffy and his crew decided to leave. At first, they thought Nami wasn't gonna join them anymore, but she surprised everybody when she showed up and decided to leave without taking gratitude. But, she didn't leave without falling into her old habit. That was to steal every wallet from the citizens of the island. After much hearty laugh and heartfelt goodbyes, the Straw Hat Pirates left the island. Naruto had laughed very much after watching Nami. Then after one day, it was time for Naruto's departure. At present he was at the village harbor staking his provisions which was provided by the villagers in his ship. The villagers had thanked him profusely for his work. After all, he had single-handedly ended the reign of Arlong. Meanwhile, Nojiko and Genzo were standing in front of Bellamir's grave. Genzo had decided to take off his pinwheel from his hat and placed it near Bellamir's grave. Nojiko was looking out in the sky. She took a deep breath and muttered. Nami must have been having fun out there in the sea, huh, isn't it Gen-san? Genzo looked at her and agreed, indeed she is. But that is not the question you were asking, were you? Nojiko looked her foster mother's grave and said sadly, no. Genzo put his hand her shoulder and said softly, if your heart says that it wants to do it, you can't deny that response. I'll not hold you responsible for what you want to do. I believe Bellamir would have given you her blessing. Nojiko shook her head and said, but I can't possibly do it. What would happen to the tangerine groves that Bellamir-san worked so hard to grow? Genzo sighed and answered, you silly girl. You are worried about something like that when you are missing a great opportunity. Don't worry about the groves. I'll take care of it. You just go out there and enjoy your life. Nojiko didn't respond for a few seconds. Then she looked out in the sea and said, the mysterious sea, Grand Line. Gen-san, do you really think I should do it? Genzo immediately answered, yes, you know that I consider you and Nami my daughters, right? I know it would be selfish of me to hold you back from your opportunities. After all, I only want what's best for you. But if your heart says that you want to sail into the Grand Line, then who am I to stop you? And regardless, you will be with the company of the most powerful man I have ever known. So, I know you'll be safe. So, I suggest you to grab this opportunity. Nojiko was slightly crying and she hugged her father figure. She said, I'm gonna miss you, Gen-san. Me too, Nojiko, me too, Genzo said with moist eyes. It was almost time for Naruto to depart from the island. He was on the deck of the ship after carrying the last of the sake barrel and prepared to say goodbye to the people of the island. He walked down towards the people so that he can give a proper goodbye to people and he didn't want to leave without seeing Genzo and Nojiko. He asked the doctor of the Kokoyashi village. Where are Gen-san and Nojiko-chan, doc? The doctor looked around and said, I don't know. What the hell are they doing? The other villagers also started whispering among themselves. Where could they be now? It's not like them to be late. Naruto was about to say something then a voice interrupted them. Sorry, everyone. We're late. Nojiko and Genzo approached the crowd. Genzo was pretty much the same, but looking at Nojiko, Naruto was slightly surprised. She was wearing a blue top with a short leather jacket which was open and jeans pants with long leather boots. She also was wearing a hat and carrying a bag. Naruto took a good look at her and expressed, wow, you look amazing, Nojiko-chan. So, you decided to come after all. Nojiko smirked and said, thank you. I can't let Nami to hog all the fun, can I? Naruto chuckled, indeed. But I have to ask you. Are you sure about this? The road ahead of us is quite dangerous. Nojiko slightly approached him and said, I wouldn't have been here if I wasn't sure, would I? So, I'm sure. Naruto nodded. He gestured her towards his ship and said, well then, welcome aboard. Nojiko smiled and started going upward in the ship Atlantis. Genzo approached Naruto, well, Naruto-san, 2 of my daughters are going into the sea for the adventure of a lifetime. I'll never stop worrying about them. But, I can't stop them doing what they want. So, I'll only say this. Please take care of her. And Genzo, the mayor of Kokoyashi village, bowed to Naruto. Naruto also bowed back and said, don't worry, Gen-san. I'll not let one single hair of her to get damaged. That's a promise of a lifetime. But that he also climbed onto the deck of his ship. Nojiko was standing there looking at the crowd. Naruto withdrew the stairs from the harbor. He immediately ordered. Ashina-chan, slacken braces and hard turn to starboard. The voice of the AI responded, aye captain. What the Nojiko exclaimed in surprise hearing a little girl's voice. Naruto mouthed her, I'll explain later, Nojiko-chan. He then waved at the crowd below in the harbor and said his goodbye. Nojiko shouted, goodbye, everyone. I'll miss all of you. Genzo and others also waved and shouted. Goodbye, Nojiko, Noji-chan, goodbye. Naruto-san, take care of her. The boy named Chabo also shouted, goodbye, Wani-chan. Have fun with your boyfriend. Nojiko laughed hard and shouted, sure, Chabo. Be a good little boy. Naruto looked at her from his position and asked with a raised eyebrow, you let him call me your boyfriend. Nojiko laughed, oh don't be a spoilsport. It's just a little bit of fun. Naruto shook his head and muttered, you and your little idea of fun. Crazy woman. The ship slowly turned right and started going towards the direction of Grand Line. All the work had been done automatically. Nojiko had noticed the events but didn't question it for the time being. Naruto had told her that he would explain everything, so she waited. After a few minutes, as the ship was a few distance away from the island, Naruto gestured her to come with him. He took her to her room. The room was pretty big. It had a big bed on which almost 3 people can sleep. There was a closet near the bed. There was a big mirror on the closet. There was a desk and a chair. Attached to the room, there was a bathroom with bathtub and showers. Overall, all the luxuries available in the world was present in the room. Nojiko set her bag on the comfy bed. Naruto was standing by the doorstep and asked her. Do you like your room? Nojiko again took a long look around the room and said, it's fantastic. How expensive is this? Naruto scratched his head and said, let's just say only the rich nobles enjoy this kind of luxuries. Nojiko was surprised to hear that. She asked then, how rich are you? Are you a noble? Naruto said, no, I'm not a noble. Well, I'm good at treasure hunting. I've collected lots of treasures and so I was able to afford this. Nojiko nodded. She responded, I see. That makes sense. A pirate without his treasures is a meaningless pirate. Naruto chuckled and said, so, true. So, that makes Luffy a pretty meaningless pirate. He is pretty much a penniless pirate. Nojiko bit her tongue from laughing. She said in laughter, I feel sorry for Nami. Naruto also laughed. After some time, he said, follow me, Nojiko-chan. There is something I want to show you. Naruto and Nojiko left the room and approached the hallway. They walked through there and came across the door that leads to the control room. Naruto opened the door and they entered the control room. Nojiko's eyes widened looking at the huge control room. It was easily the largest room she ever set foot in her life. The room was filled with huge screens with letters appearing in lines. There were lights everywhere. There were many buttons and switches. She had never seen anything like this in her life. There were also screens that were hovering in the air as if they were made of air themselves. She looked around and asked, what is this, Naruto-san? Naruto looked at her and said, this is the heart of my ship, Nojiko-chan. This is the machine which governs everything in my ship. This is an artificially created intelligent machine which has the capability to make decisions and control everything. I call it Kushina. The avatar of the AI suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. Nojiko jumped in shock from the appearance of a little girl. The little girl with flowing red hair asked Naruto. Is everything alright, Captain? Naruto answered, everything's fine, Kushina-chan. I'm just explaining things to Nojiko here. The avatar looked at the blue-haired girl and nodded. Nojiko approached the red-haired girl and asked Naruto, you just called her Kushina didn't you? I didn't understand. How can this girl be Kushina when you said that the machine is named Kushina? What is going on here? Naruto chuckled and said to Nojiko, relax, Nojiko-chan. See, Kushina here is the virtual representation of the machine. She is a three-dimensional projection created by intercrossing light beams. This way I can interact with the machine without me being in this room. She can understand everything I say. She is as intelligent as a human being, if not more. Nojiko finally understood. She said, I get it. So, the voice I heard previously was hers, isn't it? Naruto nodded. She again said. So, that is why you said that you have means to navigate your ship without having a larger crew. She can navigate the ship all on her own. You just give her orders where to go. Naruto smirked and said, you are pretty smart, Nojiko-chan. Thank you. But I have to ask you, how can this be possible? Who invented such marvelous technology? An artificially created intelligent machine. Who is that mad genius? Nojiko asked in awe. Naruto took a deep breath and said, you see. Everything about this ship is created by me. I made the ship myself. I created the machine that holds Kushina. No one has ever created something like this. Nojiko's eyes widened. She exclaimed, what? You created Kushina? You are an engineer as well? Well, I'll not go that far. But yeah, I'm the mad genius who created this greatest marvel. Not even Vegapunk has gotten this far. Naruto answered. But I have the skills of shipwright as well. So, yeah. Nojiko was astonished to say at least. The man she was traveling with was a man of many talents. He was strong, intelligent, a creator and a charmer. What can a man possibly need? She then asked him, so, my previous question. Where are your other crew members? I've only seen one you. Naruto pointed towards the avatar of AI and said, well, Kushina herself is a member of my crew. In fact, she was the first member after me. The second member of my crew has still not returned yet. He has been gone for almost 2 weeks now. Nojiko asked, I don't understand. We are in the sea right now, how will he be able to board the ship? Naruto answered, he is kind of strange. So, let's just forget about him for now. Now, since you are boarding my ship, which makes you the fourth member of my crew. He led her to the table in the control room near the captain's seat and he filled 2 sake mugs. He gave one to Nojiko. Kushina made herself a virtual sake mug in her hands. Naruto then said. Let's kanpai to our newest nakama, Nojiko-chan. All of them shouted kanpai and they touched their mugs, Kushina's being slipped right through Nojiko's mug. And then they drank the sake in one gulp. All of them started laughing. Nojiko said to Naruto, this is quite fun actually. Naruto chuckled and said, I'm glad that you're enjoying this. He then ordered Kushina-chan, set course for the next island. The red-haired AI responded, aye, Captain. But the straw hats. They raised the price again. Nami's voice could be heard. She was agitated it seemed. The bird that was delivering daily newspaper moaned pitifully. Nami again said, don't you think that's a little too high? Why you? She pushed a coin in the pouch strapped on the delivery bird and said, next time the price is raised, I won't buy it, here. The bird made a sound and flew away. Geez, it's just a newspaper. Yusuf deadpanned behind her. Nami waved her hands and complained, but if you get it all the time, it adds up. Yusuf was trying to add some kind of red syrup on a red ball and said, well, you don't have to save to buy your village from Arlong anymore, so why keep worrying about money? He looked back at her. Nami barked at Usopp, dummy. That's exactly why. I don't have that obligation anymore, so from now on, it's all for myself. She then placed her hands on her hips and said, I can't go around being some kind of cheapskate pirate, can I? Her mood changed from pouty to cheerful thinking about money. Hey, keep it down. Usopp raised his arm to stop her shouting as he was busy preparing his next projectile. I'm in the middle of formulating my Hisatsu Tabasco Bushi here. He then tried to add another drop of strange syrup on the red ball. Concentrating hard, he muttered, with this, if I shot it into the enemy's eyes. Suddenly something collided with him, spreading the red syrup onto his eyes. He shouted as a huge amount of fire comically shot out from his eyes. What? Come on, just one. Luffy shouted, pouting. Turns out, their captain Luffy was trying to steal a tangerine from the grove, and Sanji as an obedient lover and bodyguard kicked him from taking it, thus head-on collision of Luffy and Usopp. Never, Sanji shouted, this is Nami-sen's tangerine grove. He stood protectively in front of Grove and said, I won't allow you to lay a finger on it. He then shouted to Nami with hearts in his eyes, Nami-san. The security guard of love is on duty. Nami just enjoyed toying with the idiot lover and said, thank you, Sanji-kun. Zoro scoffed from his place, she uses him like a tool, that dork Sanji. Nami then opened the newspaper to read. She muttered, let's see him. Her eyes widened and shouted, Wyatt. Everybody jumped from their place. Luffy shouted, what? Nami, does your stomach hurt? Nami stood up and shouted, everyone gather around, I think you should all see this. Everybody gathered around her. Nami then placed the newspaper on the wooden floor of Going Merry. Luffy looked at the front page and said, look Zoro, it's the swordsman guy you fought. He then again said confused, what is Naruto doing there? He pointed towards the picture. Nami said, it's not the shocking part. Read the headlines. It says Takanomi Mihawk loses duel of swordsmanship for the first time. Zoro's eyes widened like dinner plates. He shouted, what? What the hell? He was at a loss of words. How can this be possible? He said to Nami, trembling a little, can you read the entire article? Nami nodded, also slightly trembling a little, here goes. Takanomi Mihawk loses duel of swordsmanship for the first time. By Jones Paul. In the surprising turns of events, I bear witness an unbelievable event with my own eyes. I was a humble news reporter trying to collect news for my readers, but in a twist of luck ended up in a pirate ship. The pirate captain was unlike anyone I've ever seen. He didn't behave as a pirate at all. He took me prisoner, yes, but gave me freedom to roam around the ship as I see fit. He was not cruel and constantly smiled. And then the shocking thing happened right in front of my eyes. Apparently one of the Shichibukai was strolling around the east blue of seas. It was none other than the greatest swordsman of the world, Takanomi Dracula Mihawk. He was chasing Don Krieg from the Grand Line and ended up meeting the pirate that captured me. To my shock, the pirate challenged a duel of swordsmanship to Takanomi. The Shichibukai agreed to fight the pirate. But as the battle progressed, I'm shocked to say as it is. I don't help but acknowledge the fact that the greatest swordsman of the world was no match for my capturer. He was too strong, too fast to see. One swing of his sword creates shockwaves so bright that even the sun can't shine through it. It was the most awe-inspiring battle between two men I have ever seen. Apparently the pirate also most probably has devil fruit powers. He froze the entire sea surrounding us to give them a standing ground for their battle. The battle didn't last long. It was probably only 5 minutes, and in that short time, the pirate completely destroyed Takanomi. He fell defeated and the greatest swordsman of the world lost the duel without giving his opponent a single scratch. The pirate crew that I encountered is named as Dark Ghost Pirates and its captain is named as Naruto Uzumaki. The new rookie pirate with more than enough strength to defeat a Shichibukai. From this day, I, Jones Paul, give him the title of Akuma no Mi, Devil's Eye. As the new greatest swordsman of the world, this name fits him perfectly. For more information, visit page 8. To know more about Takanomi, visit page 10. Everybody was silent in shock reading the news. Nobody had any words to describe this incredible event. Hirano Zoro slowly released his holding breath and muttered, my goal, my entire life ambition just shattered in millions of pieces. Sanji took out a cigarette and lighted up. He puffed out the smoke and said, looks like your goal became a lot tougher, Hemoremo. Nami slowly said, I didn't know he was that strong. No wonder he destroyed Arlong so easily. Usopp's jaw was hanging open in shock. He shouted, he definitely is a monster. I don't want to face him ever in my life. He will massacre us. Luffy was silent for a minute and suddenly he started laughing. He shouted arms wide, Sugoi, now I'm even more pumped up to go to Grand Line. If a guy like that is going there, I can't lose to him, shishi. Nami sighed and took the newspaper from the ground and something fell out from it. 2 small papers fell down on the ground. Everyone looked at the papers. They all shouted, eh. Nami looked at the bounty poster and read, Monkey D. Luffy, dead or alive, 30 million belly. She then looked at the other poster and her eyes widened. She shouted, is that even possible? On board of the Atlantis. Naruto was relaxing on his comfy chair in the control room. The screen in front of him was showing him the way he was going. The door of the control room abruptly opened with a loud thud and Nojiko came rushing in. She shouted. Naruto-san, have you looked at the newspaper today? Naruto looked at her as she approached him. He smiled and said, yeah, I saw it. She put the bounty poster on the table and asked him, is it true? Did you really defeat the greatest swordsman of the world? Naruto smirked and said, yes, it's true. Takanomi was really strong. It was a fun duel. Nojiko exhaled and sat down. She slowly said, I can't believe you're that strong. Apparently you were not really serious fighting Arlong. You knew that Arlong was no match for you, didn't you? Naruto answered, yes, Arlong was weak. Compared to the monsters that are lurking in the Grand Line, he was not even worth mentioning. I could have defeated him even at the age of 13. Nojiko sighed and muttered, I can't believe he gave us that much trouble for 8 whole years. So, if Arlong was that weak, then how much stronger guys we are going to encounter in Grand Line. Naruto laughed and said, don't worry, Nojiko-chan. I'll protect you. Nojiko shook her head. She said, that's not it. Although I know that you can very much take care of yourself and if necessary protect me. But I don't want to be protected all the time. I need to be able to defend myself. As I am now, I'll get slaughtered. Naruto looked at her and slowly asked, Nojiko-chan, do you want to become strong? Nojiko hesitated for a bit. Then her eyes shone determination and she said, yes, I want to become strong like you. I don't want to live in fear as I've lived for 8 years. I want to take control of my life. Naruto smiled and stood up. He exclaimed, excellent. I was gonna train you before you've made your decision. I know that Grand Line is a dangerous place and only strong ones survive there. So, I've already decided to make you strong. Strong enough to take on anyone and win. Nojiko was shocked. She said in amazement, you've already thought to train me? Do you really think I can become strong like you? Naruto placed his hands on her shoulder and said looking at her eyes, yes, I have faith in you that you'll become strong. Nojiko smiled gratefully and said, thank you, Naruto-san. Naruto just waved his hands and said, Ma, don't worry about it. As the first commander of Dark Ghost Pirate, you definitely need to get stronger. It will look bad on me if the first commander is weak. Isn't it? He smirked slyly. Nojiko also smirked and said, absolutely. So, what are you going to teach me? Naruto smiled and said, well, Nojiko-chan, we'll not train today. From tomorrow, your training starts. Somewhere in Grand Line. A man sitting at the cliff muttered looking through his telescope. He was surveying the surrounding sea as that was the job given to him by his boss. So, looking through the telescope, he saw a dot coming towards the island. What the hell is that? He asked. Let me see. His partner that was resting under a tree stood up and asked. He looked through the telescope and saw a man sitting on a raft coming towards them. He immediately recognized the man on the raft. He shouted. Takanomi Mihawk landed on the island and started strolling through the group of pirates as if he owned that place. One of the pirate pointed his sword at him and said in a trembling voice, Takanomi. What are you doing here? Mihawk responded, shut up. I have no business with you. Where are your superiors? The man with the sword instantly ran to his boss to relay the message. Mihawk narrowed his eyes and muttered, camping on an island such as this he's much too casual. Inside the jungle was the camp. The captain and the top members of the pirate crew were partying whole night. The man that was relaying the message came running towards the captain. He shouted, Akashira. Panting. The captain placed a mug of sake in front of him and he hastily drank that in one gulp. He was about to warn his captain of the arrival of Takanomi, but the said man was already behind him. He shouted and fell back. The red-haired captain slowly said, yo, Takanomi. Long time no see. I'm not feeling too good right now. You come for a match? Mihawk scoffed and said, I have no interest in challenging a one-armed man like yourself. However, I came across some interesting pirates. He took out a bounty poster and approached the captain and said, and it reminded me of something you told me a long time ago. A story about a small village and an amusing little kid. He showed all of them the bounty poster of Luffy. Akagami Shank's eyes widened seeing a familiar face. No way, Lucky Roo said eyes wide and still meat in his mouth. Every other Akagami pirate's eyes widened. Shank started smirking looking at Luffy's poster. He muttered in excitement, so you've come, Luffy. He then said, well then, Takanomi. Mihawk stared at him. Shank's smirk widened a bit more, I can't let you go just like that. He slammed a mug and poured some sake on it, then yelled to everyone to party. He yelled to Mihawk, now, drink up. Drink. Drink. We're gonna party today. Mihawk was dumbfounded and said, "You seem to be already done so. Don't mind me. This is a time to celebrate." Mihawk shrugged and gulped down the sake. Shanks laughed and yelled to everyone to enjoy. Mihawk then said to Shanks, "Akagami, I'm not here for that reason only. There is something I like to discuss with you." Shanks looked at him and asked slightly hangover, there is something else. Akanomi took out the newspaper and tossed it to him. He said, "Just read the headlines. You'll understand." Shanks looked at the newspaper and proceeded to read the headlines. His eyes widened in shock and he exclaimed, "What?" Every other pirate looked at him in confusion. Lucky Roo asked, "Akashiro, what's the matter?" Shanks tossed them the newspaper. They all had their eyes as big as dinner plates. Yassop exclaimed, "What the hell?" Shanks slowly looked at Hawkeye and said, "Is this news true?" Mihawk pulled out another bounty poster and tossed it to him. Shanks looked at the poster and his eyes narrowed. He said, "This is no ordinary man." Mihawk said, "I won't be here if isn't true. That man, he is too strong." Shanks exhaled his breath and asked, "So, what's the thing you wanted to discuss?" Hawkeye said, "The thing is. New World. Look, Oyaji. This is my little brother," said a man wearing an orange color hat showing a bounty poster. Porteous d'Ace was quite happy to show his brother's bounty poster to his captain. His captain being the world's strongest man, Whitebeard aka Edward Newgate. Whitebeard was a huge man with a long white mustache that looks like a crescent moon. He was seated on the deck of the ship with medical protrusions all over his body and surrounded by nurses that monitored his health. It seemed that old age had an effect on him. He was holding a huge pot filled with sake. Whitebeard looked at him and laughed, "Gururara, how young are these younglings, why are they quite in a hurry?" The 1st Division Commander Marco said, "You said the same thing about Ace Yoyoyaji." "Did I now?" Gururara? Whitebeard laughed and gulped down sake. Ace smiled and said, "This brings back memories. I left 3 years earlier before him after all. I can't wait to meet him." The 4th Division Commander Thatch asked Ace, "So, what is he like, your brother?" Ace said, "He is a troublemaker and an idiot. He has been spouting about becoming the Pirate King ever since he was a kid. I worry about him all the time." Marco said, looking at Thatch, "Sounds like quite the person we all know, Yoi." The 4th Division Commander laughed knowingly. Ace snorted, understanding the meaning behind their smirks. "Oyaji," shouted someone. All the pirates on the deck of Moby Dick including Whitebeard looked towards the man that shouted. It was a member from Ace's division. "What is it?" Ace asked. The man was holding the newspaper and was slightly shaking as well. He gulped and said, "I think you should all hear this news," tossing the newspaper to his commander. The man from East Blue was able to beat Takanomi Mihawk in a duel quite effortlessly. He said. "What?" Everybody shouted. Ace hastily looked at the paper and read the news. He then said, eyes wide, "It's true. Look, there is a photo of him along with Takanomi." Everybody took a good look at the man that defeated the world's greatest swordsman. At last Whitebeard took hold of the paper and read the news. His eyes narrowed at the picture. He then laughed, "Gururara looks like a strong rookie has come to the sea. These youngsters are quite something else. To be able to defeat Takanomi is quite a feat. He might be coming for my head pretty soon." Marco leaned back and said, "Oyaji, what should we do, Yoi? Should we try to eliminate him before he becomes a threat?" Whitebeard took a gulp of sake and said, "No, Marco. I want to see this brat's potential. Let's see how far he can come." Ace bit his lip and whispered, "From East Blue, huh?" The news also says he had destroyed the Arlong pirate single-handedly and Luffy was supposedly there to witness the event. I hope Luffy isn't stupid enough to challenge him. The bounty poster slipped from the paper. Whitebeard looked at it and picked it up. He looked at the bounty and laughed, "Gururara, they must be setting a new record with this, the world government. Sengoku, are you that desperate to issue such a thing?" Others looked at the poster and whistled. Ace remarked, "To gain such a first bounty is truly impressive. I look forward to meet this guy." Looking at the bounty poster carefully, a man with black hair and black beard slipped away from others. He smiled evilly, "Jihahaha, this makes my plan even more interesting, and Naruto Uzumaki, you're not getting away from me." Marine Headquarters, Marineford. There was quite a ruckus going on in the headquarters of Marines. Many Marines were running to and fro, going to designated posts and issuing orders. The news about the defeat of Mihawk was quite a shock to the world, and so the headquarters was brimming with many Marine captains, commodores and lieutenants. It seemed that the Fleet Admiral Sengoku and the 3 Marine admirals were also present for the briefing. Inside the big building located in the stone mountain of the island of Marineford, many captains were seated on the tatami with sake cups on their front. In front of them Lieutenant Commander Brandnew was debriefing them about the current topic. Brandnew was a tall man with green hair and was wearing marine uniform and a black sunglass. "This is quite a shock to the world. How could have we let this news be published in the world?" Brandnew said, gritting his teeth. "This is absurd. The name Shichibukai holds quite a meaning to the world, it gives balance. But if one of them gets defeated quite this easily, so what'd it be meaning for us, he said. Calm down, brand new, said a man wearing standard Marine Admiral uniform and a marine cap that has a life-sized seagull standing on it. That man was none other than Fleet Admiral Sengoku. Sengoku was a very tall, fair-skinned and muscular, yet spry, roughly middle-aged man with a long braided beard and mustache. He said. It's not good for us to lose our cool. This incident will no doubt inspire more pirates. We have to focus more on preserving the peace than to create a ruckus. It's bad enough that we can't even control the flocks of pirates that come to the Grand Line. But, Fleet Admiral Sengoku Dono, we can't let this incident slide. With this incident, people no longer will believe in the power of the world government. We have to do something. Brand new exclaimed. Oh, why are you so tense about this, brand new-san? Said a man with a condescending tone. This man was also very tall, wearing yellow trimmed clothes with a marine coat hanging over it. This man was pretty much laid back in everything and never takes anything serious. He was after all one of the three greatest forces of the Marines. The Marine Admiral Borsellino aka Kizaru, the user of Pika Pika no Mi fruit. Urara, he raises a very astute question, Borsellino. Said another tall man wearing Admiral uniform. He has black curly hair and also had a quite laid-back personality. He was the admiral with power to freeze everything. The user of Hai Hai no Mi, Kuzin aka Kiji. Fleet Admiral Sengoku sighed and said, no, brand new. We can't let this incident slide. But we have to see the big picture. It seems that he let Takanomi alive and so we are not short on a member of Shichibukai. Mihawk will remain one of the Shichibukai as we discussed. But as for this new rookie, Naruto Uzumaki, we have to constantly observe his movements. See what he does in coming days. Has a bounty been issued on him, brand new? He asked. Brand new took out a bounty poster and stamped it on the board on the wall. He said, considering what he did in East Blue, defeating Takanomi Mihawk and single-handedly annihilating the complete crew of Arlong pirates. We have decided to issue this amount of bounty. Sengoku put his hand on his chin and mused, considering all factors, the bounty is quite high. Even Fisher Tiger wasn't issued that much first bounty. Aren't you overestimating this new rookie quite a bit, brand new? No, Fleet Admiral Dono. I have this gut feeling that this is the beginning of something big. I sense a big storm brewing and we have to prepare for it. This is only the beginning and so that's why I personally issued his first bounty like this. Anything less would be an insult to Takanomi, considering he had stood on even grounds with Akagami Shanks. Sengoku said, very well. I'll take your word for it. He then looked towards the three admirals and said. I want the three of you to stand by for my orders. You can investigate on your own. Anything regarding this new rookie comes front. I want your reports immediately. The three Marine admirals nodded. Sengoku then said, this meeting is adjourned, you're all dismissed. Everyone started to leave the room. On the board situated in the wall shows the bounty of the man that has defeated the world's greatest swordsman. The picture of the man was quite intimidating. He looked quite intense with shadowy look and glowing red eyes. Combining with his birthmarks that made him look quite like a fox and a sword strapped in the back gave him look that said he truly was the eye of the devil. Akuma no Mi. The bounty poster slowly fell down on the floor. It says. Dead or alive, Naruto Uzumaki 250,000,000 belly. The next day on the Atlantis. The pirate ship the Atlantis was slowly sailing through the clear blue water of the sea. In the deck of the ship, two persons were standing face to face. Nojiko looked at Naruto expectantly and was quite nervous in the inside. She had thought about it all night. She had never ever thought about becoming stronger before. Even when Arlong took over their village, she didn't have the will to fight. She was quite content in watching Nami fulfill her promise and hoped one day Nami would be able to free their village. But when Arlong betrayed their trust, she and the rest of the villagers had been prepared to lay their lives for the sake of their loved ones. She had thought that she might die that day. But the man standing before her saved them all. He had single-handedly annihilated the tyrant that ruled them for 8 whole years. Looking at him fighting, she was quite mesmerized by his sheer magnitude of power. She had hoped to become strong like him one day. But she didn't have the courage to do so. But thinking about it now, she felt pretty stupid to doubt herself. Yes, right now she didn't have the power to protect herself but it didn't mean that she can't become stronger so long as she was determined. Naruto took a deep breath and said, well, Nojiko-chan, time for your training comes now. Nojiko nodded. She asked, so, what are you going to teach me? Naruto smiled and said, patience Nojiko-chan. You'll be learning everything you need to know to become strong. He then said, first, you'll be learning a form of martial arts. Nojiko raised an eyebrow and asked, now, I'm not an expert, but what kind of martial arts may I ask? Naruto put his finger forward and said, well, the high-ranking Marines use a special type of martial art known as Rakishiki. This art is very useful and very strong. The term Rakishiki comes from the 6 distinct type of techniques. Nojiko mused and asked, how come you know what kind of fighting style the Marines use? Naruto answered, thinking a bit, I'm an information gatherer. I know much about the Marines, pirates and even the world government. I have spies everywhere. Through these spies, I acquired the knowledge about these techniques and even practiced it and mastered it. Nojiko was quite surprised to hear it. She exclaimed, amazing. You sir, is one amazing man. Naruto scratched his head and said, thanks. As I was saying, Rakishiki is a fighting technique used by many high-ranking Marines, especially the Cipher Pole agents. The masters of Rakishiki are quite strong people and can give even the devil fruit user a run for their money. Nojiko whistled and said, wow, Rakishiki sounds like an amazing fighting technique. So, you're going to teach me Rakishiki, right? That's correct. Naruto answered, well, Rakishiki is the first part of your training. But, there is one other thing you absolutely need to learn if you want to survive in this world. Nojiko gulped and said, well, what is the thing that I absolutely need to learn? Naruto took a breath and said, well, Nojiko-chan, before we get to that, do you know how many types of devil fruit are there? Nojiko shook her head and answered, no, I actually have no idea how many types of devil fruits there are. The blonde said, I thought as much. Very well then, you see Nojiko-chan, he put 3 fingers in front him, there are 3 types of devil fruit in the world. Nojiko muttered, 3 huh, so what are they? Well, first one is known as Paramecia type. You have already seen one. Mugiwara no Luffy has a Paramecia devil fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Naruto said. Nojiko recognized that, so that's his power ability to stretch beyond normal like a rubber. Naruto said, yes, Paramecia devil fruits grant users pretty strange abilities. Like Luffy's, there are many such Paramecia fruits. Such as the ability to split body parts, create magnetic attraction and repulsion, create wax and many more. The world's strongest man Whitebeard uses a Paramecia fruit. The ability to create earthquakes. The Gurugura no Mi. Nojiko was amazed, wow, such versatility. The devil fruits are very strange things indeed. Naruto nodded and said, yes, well, Paramecia fruits are most common types of fruits. These are pretty abundant in Grand Line. Sometimes, Paramecia can give useless and stupid abilities too. More to it later. Now the second type of fruit is known as Zone type. These types of fruits grant users the power to transform into animals. You can easily recognize one by the type of animal the user transforms into. Naruto said. Nojiko mused, pretty useful if you ask me. Imagine transform into tigers or even dragons. Naruto laughed, don't let your imagination wander that far, Nojiko-chan. You see, Zone type fruits are not so rare. Also, you can't find devil fruit that gives the power to transform into mythical creature. So, yeah, finding one that let you transform into dragon is 1 in a million. Although you can get tigers or other common animals. Nojiko sighed and muttered, so much for my imagination. Naruto smiled and said, well, if you're willing to look hard enough, you may find one. Nojiko looked at him with questioning gaze. Naruto answered, well, there are other zone fruit that are rarer than the last class of fruit. The ancient zone fruit and the mythical zone fruit. The ancient zone fruit gives ability of an ancient creature such as a dinosaur or a saber-tooth. The mythical zone fruit is the rarest class of devil fruits. It may give you the ability of a mythical creature. Yeah, dragons might not be far-fetched after all. I know of one mythical fruit. The first commander of Whitebeard pirates, Marco, has a mythical zone power. He can transform into a phoenix with blue flames. Naruto said. Nojiko whistled, amazing. So, what about the last one? The blonde said, well, the last class of devil fruits is the rarest of the 3 classes, although not rarer than mythical zone. It is known as the Loja class. This fruit is the most troublesome fruit of all. The blue-haired woman looked at him with a question, so, what's troublesome about it? Naruto said, this fruit is troublesome because this class gives the user to control the forces of nature. Such as fire, wind, etc. Also, this fruit gives the user an invulnerable body. When you attack a Loja user, his body transforms to that of the element. Nojiko, confused, asked, what? Naruto gave her an example, let's say someone has a fire Loja power. He can produce fire. Now if you attack him, as soon as you touch him, his body will transform into fire and your attack will just pass through him, giving him no damage at all. All attacks will just pass through him. Nojiko gulped, thinking about that, and said, now that is troublesome. It's like these Loja user are invincible. Nothing can damage them if the attacks will just pass through them. Naruto said, yeah, that's why I said the Loja users are difficult to deal with. But they are not invincible. There are methods that can counter them. Nojiko was quite interested to know about that. She exclaimed, now we are going somewhere. Naruto smirked, watching her enthusiasm. He shook his head and said, now, it seemed like devil fruit users are quite the superhumans, right? Nojiko nodded. He then said, but I say the devil fruit users are also very vulnerable creatures. They have so many weaknesses that if you're smart enough, you can easily subjugate them even without fighting. Now, you already know the devil fruit users are weak against seawater, right? Nojiko nodded and said, I quite forgot about their weakness. So, no matter how much power they get, they're still vulnerable to sea. That's why they're known as hammers in the water. Naruto remarked, yes, hammers, anchors, whatever you name them. They're not only vulnerable to sea, but they are weak against any form of standing water. But there is one other thing that can weaken them. Saying that, Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out an object. He threw it towards Nojiko and she caught it. A stone? Nojiko asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, a stone. But not an ordinary stone. It is known as Kairoseki, sea stone. This stone emits the same energy as the sea. So, it can severely weaken a devil fruit user. He said. Nojiko looked at stone carefully and said, amazing. This thing is a defense against devil fruit user, huh? Naruto said, now you know the 3 types of fruits. But why am I telling you this when you're about to train? Nojiko frowned and asked, yeah, come to think of it, we went pretty far outside our topic. Actually, I have a purpose of doing that. Well, remember I said that you need to learn about something, right? He said. Nojiko replied, yeah, so what is that? Naruto took a breath and said, well, simply put, you need to acquire the power known as haki. Haki? What is that? Naruto answered, well, haki is the power of your soul. Your spirit itself commands the power of haki. The more you develop yourself, the more your spirit strengthens and more powerful you become. Haki is a latent ability everybody possesses, but not everyone is aware of it. So, my inner power, how can you use that? Nojiko asked. You develop it by training in it, by developing it, by enduring tough challenges. Haki can be awakened by 2 things. You can either train to acquire it or you can just let it awaken by continuous battles. You don't have the liberty to fight strong enemies right now cause I don't want to take any chances, and so only method is for you to train for it. Naruto answered. Nojiko nodded and said, alright. Sounds good to me. Naruto put his 2 fingers in V-shaped and said, there are 2 types of haki. The first one is known as the Kenbenshoku no haki, observation haki. This haki lets you develop an inner eye. What I meant is that you can predict your opponent's movements. You can predict what he would do next, what kind of attack he will throw at you. The more you develop this haki, the more you'll be able to sense your opponents, the more you'll be aware of your surroundings. Nojiko took a deep breath and exclaimed, incredible. So that's why you have been able to dodge everything Arlong threw at you. That's right. The second one is known as the Bushoshoku no haki, armament haki. This haki is the most important haki. You have to master it no matter what. Naruto said. Nojiko asked, so, what does it do? The blonde captain answered, this haki gives you invisible armor. With it you can guard yourself from enemies' attacks. If your armor is strong enough you can use 2 for offensive purpose. Unlike the other hakis, this haki is the only effective countermeasure against a devil fruit user. Nojiko asked in confusion, what do you mean? Naruto answered, Bushoshoku no haki give you the ability to hurt a devil fruit user. You can land solid hits on any user, be it Logia or Paramecia. So, against a Logia fruit user, if you don't have any Kairoseki, this haki is your salvation. With this haki you not only land hits on them, but you can severely injure them. Nojiko's eyes widened and she jumped with joy, perfect. So, Logia fruit users are not so invincible after all. Naruto smiled and said, well, Logia users seemed invincible to any other opponent, but against a skilled Bushoshoku haki user, they're sitting ducks. Naruto then took out a pencil and showed it Nojiko. He said, you see Nojiko-chan, you can transfer this haki to any object. See this pencil. Nojiko looked with an interesting eye. Naruto then infused Bushoshoku haki onto it and it turned black. He then threw it on an empty barrel. The empty barrel exploded, splintering everything. Nojiko's eyes widened looking at the devastation of a small object. She exclaimed, what? A small pencil got this much powerful just by inclusion of haki. Naruto laughed and said, this is just a small demonstration. If I wanted I could have made it even more destructive. You see Nojiko-chan, when you master Bushoshoku haki, you can do anything with it. The more you train in it, more of your skill grows. The marks of this haki has a distinct identifying pattern. You noticed that the pencil had turned black when I infused haki in it, didn't you? Nojiko nodded. She did notice the pencil turned black. Naruto explained, when you infuse Bushoshoku haki, the area that you're infusing turns black. Like this, he showed his right hand to Nojiko, and he infused his haki. His right arm turned pitched black. Wow, it really became black. She said in astonishment. Naruto then said, that's the identifying marker of this haki. You can know anyone if they're using haki or not by looking at their body. If any part of their body turns black, you'll immediately know that they're using haki. She nodded. So, yeah, you need to learn of these two hakas. The blonde shinobi pirate said. Nojiko thought, I can't believe I'm learning so much about the world. It seems my captain is a very knowledgeable man. He has exceptionally prepared everything for his journey to Grand Line to take down a Yonko. I can't believe I doubted him. Naruto looked at her said, well, besides these two hakas, there is one other haki that many few people in the world can use. Nojiko snapped out from her thoughts and asked, there is one another type of haki. Naruto replied, yes, well this haki can't be trained. You have to be born with it. This haki has the potential power to subjugate all things in nature. This haki is the power to intimidate your opponents. One blast of this haki, any weak-minded creature, would just lay down unconscious. This haki is known as the Hashoku no Haki, Conqueror's Haki. Nojiko gulped and said, sounds like an incredible power. Yes, this haki can make any weak-minded people bow down to the user. That's why it is known as the haki that belongs to a king or conqueror. All the big names in the world such as Whitebeard, Akagami Shanks, the Pirate King Gold Roger, all have this haki. That's why they have so many followers as they know that they're following a king. Naruto said. Unbelievable. Nojiko explained. She then thought of something and asked, so, do you have this haki? Immediately an incredible pressure came down at her. She fell down to her knees and struggling to breath. She gasped and started sweating. Then the pressure disappeared. She slowly stood up and took a deep breath. What incredible power. She muttered herself. Sorry about that Nojiko-chan. I wanted to show you the power of Hashoku Haki. I only used a minute amount of haki so that you don't faint. Naruto said. She bit her lip and said, that's a small amount. I don't want to experience the full power of this haki. Naruto scratched his head and laughed, ha 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 ha. Nojiko looked at him and slowly asked with a timid voice, so, do you think I will be able to use this haki, ever? Naruto looked at her intensely and said, well, I can't answer that question. You have to answer that yourself. If you have this ability, then it will show itself to you. It can't be trained, remember? But if you have this ability then you can train to control it. That's about it. She nodded and said, well, I'll know when the time comes. Naruto then said, now that the explanations are out of the way, it's training time. Nojiko-chan, as we have very little time until we enter into Grand Line, you have to work extra hard. Nojiko gulped and she said slightly in nervousness, I understand. Naruto said, I'm going to train you in the art of Rakishiki and Haki simultaneously. Well, today you'll only learn the basics of the first Rakishiki technique, but no Haki. She nodded. Naruto then said, now, the first technique the Rakishiki trainees learn is known as Soru, shave. This is the most common technique amongst the Marines and is the easiest to learn. Let me give you a demonstration. He said. Soru, shave. He immediately disappeared and reappeared some distance away. Nojiko's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't follow him at all. He just disappeared in an instant and appeared. Naruto again vanished and stood in front of her. Nojiko stumbled back and fell down the wooden floor. Naruto smiled and gave his arm forward. Nojiko blushed and took his hand and Naruto pulled her on her feet. Thanks. She muttered. He replied, no problem. Now do you understand how useful these techniques are? She shook her head and said, incredible. You just vanished from my eyes. You're like moving at the speed of a bullet. The blonde smiled, well, yes, Soru is a technique that lets you move in incredible speeds. You just literally vanish from your opponent's view. The trick is that when you move you give a little pressure on the ground, right? So, when you move around you literally kick the ground and the ground gives you feedback and propels you forward. It's the third law of motion. That's what we call walking. The more you kick, the faster you move. In running you literally kick the ground multiple times and so you propel faster. He said. So, Soru is a technique in which you kick the ground 10 or more times at a time and the ground gives incredible feedback and propels you in incredible speeds. That's how I vanished from your eyes. Naruto explained. Nojiko was slightly astonished and exclaimed, amazing. As expected of the Marines to figure out something like that. Naruto said, it's a very simple mechanism. But if you're moving fast you also encounter the pressure and friction of air. The speed you're moving in Soru is so fast that the pressure of atmosphere can literally crush you and all your muscles and tendons might tear into shreds. Nojiko gulped. She slowly said, it seemed it's not without consequences. So, to learn Rakishiki, you need to train your body to absolute limits to withstand the feedback. If your body isn't prepared, you might die. He explained. She nervously nodded. He then said, don't worry, I'll be here and I'll not let you attempt anything that I'm absolutely sure you're not ready to handle. Nojiko sighed in relief. He then said, now that I have shown you the technique, you are going to learn it. But first you need to condition your body. So, the first thing you're going to do is exercise. By exercise means you're going to run like hell. So, Nojiko-chan, give me at least 20 laps around the Atlantis as the ship is very big, it'll give you very good workout. Naruto said. Nojiko nodded and smiled nervously. She mentally prepared herself. With one last look towards him, she started running. Naruto smiled and sat down on the chair on the deck. He took out a book and started writing the training plan for Nojiko. He asked Kushina-chan. Come here for a minute. The avatar of AI manifested and asked him, yes captain. What do you need? What is our current heading, Kushina-chan? He asked. The AI answered, our current heading is Lowtown, captain. Naruto recognized that name and mused, the town of beginning and ending we are getting pretty close to Grand Line it seems. Well, Kushina-chan, let's dock in Lowtown to resupply shall we? I want to see the execution ground. Hi, captain. The AI replied and vanished. The Atlantis slowly advanced towards the closest island near the red line in East Blue, and where situated the town that the pirate king Gold D. Roger was born and was also executed 22 years ago. What if Naruto was the strongest haki user in One Piece? End here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.